What is happening out there, rotoscouts baseball fans? Do I get sued if I start this show while Bad Religion's still playing? I really wanted to hear the end of that song. I don't know how that works. I think they just copyright me out and I'm not allowed to go on the air for like a couple days or something like that. You get dinged. I think that happened over at Stochastic a couple times. I was really enjoying that tune. What's going on, gang? Happy Friday. 11-game baseball slate to talk about. My name's Terry McBride, and I have a problem with scheduling football shows. Still haven't gotten a football show done during the week. We're probably just going to end up doing the same thing we did the last 2 weeks, just doing a big marathon show tomorrow for football. But if you've been to the site, everything's updated for football for week 3. All the projections are up, free projections for week 3. All the price and the points in the salary rankings, the value rankings are all updated position by position. I'll have the groups and stacks article up in the next 12 hours or so. I usually do it overnight on Friday, then update it going into Sunday. I will also have the above below article that I debuted last week, just to do like focus on some picks. Where if you guys saw that, we actually had a really good week with it, week 2, the first week of it, and I'm just like going through some of the players that are projected either above or below the industry average in my projections, which would then lead to, me being above or below the field in most cases. So it's like a picks column, basically. So keep an eye out for that. That'll be up between now and definitely not now or in the next couple hours, but figure by like this time tomorrow. That one will probably be up maybe a little bit later into the evening tomorrow, but it'll be up well in advance of Sunday. Then everything will be updated on Sunday. We'll land the show sometime tomorrow for sure. We'll do the big marathon through all the games for football, but let's get into this baseball slate. Little bit of baseball left. Should be interesting down the stretch. I know the Mariners and the Rangers play like 10 times I saw. That's going to be a lot of fun. But what's that race looking like? I'm already going off on a tangent. Look at me. They're both 84 and 68. And they play, I think, 10 times in the next week. Chasing that wild card spot. And actually, I mean, they're both right behind the Astros, too. That division's not decided by any means. It's going to be fun down the stretch. Tom, what's going on? Tom L? Tom I? I don't know if that's a lowercase L or a capital I, Tom, but welcome, buddy. Yeah, I'm no longer at Stochastic. It's been a little while now. Started up the Roto Scouts at the beginning of the baseball season. Had on the website for like a dozen years and finally decided to do something with it. But yeah, I haven't been with Stochastic since basically the beginning of the baseball season, like full-blown not doing anything there. Had not been doing stuff like behind the scenes, but was still doing some content for them for the last like 2 years or year and a half or whatever. Matt Pat just bought his Brewers playoff tickets. Look at that. That'll be fun. Yeah, let me see the wild card standings. Wild card standings in the National League. Yeah, that second spot. Arizona up 2 games with the Cubbies, the Marlins, and the Reds right there. San Francisco only 3 back. Technically, San Diego's 4 back. They probably can't overcome all those teams. But yeah, that's a 2-game race with, Cincinnati was a half game back of Miami and Chicago, I guess is how that works. It's a weird way to do the board. In the AL, Toronto up a half a game for that second wild card spot. Tampa Bay ran away with the first one. They're up 9 games. But Seattle, Texas right there. And then Seattle and Texas also chasing Houston for the division. A lot of good stuff going on. What else? Let's see. That's the only really close actual division, the AL West. 3 teams separated by half a game. Every other division is basically decided. The Rays are only a game and a half back of the Orioles. So that technically could go either way, but they're both in the playoffs either way. They're both, one's the division winner, one's the wild card. Everything else, Twins up 8.5 games. That's ridiculous. That division is so bad. Break up the AL Central. Atlanta's up 14 games on Philly. They're outrageous. They're so good. 98 wins. 95 wins for Baltimore. 94 for the Rays. Good season. A lot of fun. Wish my Yanks were in it. Yeah, that's awesome, Matthew Patterson. Enjoy that, buddy. Tom says, sorry, I've been out of the loop. Got you. Good luck. Thank you, buddy. I'm glad you found the site. That's all. We haven't been aggressively promoting things, just throwing stuff out into the world and letting it land where it lands. And a lot of folks have found us. More and more trickle in every day. So hit the like button, hit the subscribe button so you know when we do stuff. We are going to go through game by game for the baseball slate here. And like I was saying, we'll do football. At this point, it's going to be tomorrow. Just so bad at getting stuff scheduled. Although I have to say, I kind of blame you guys, because if all you guys were up at 4 o'clock in the morning, 4:30 in the morning, we would have knocked out a bunch of football shows. There's only so many hours in the day, but the other problem is that I spend a lot of them in the wee hours of the night rather than in the early morning when people are actually conscious and doing things. So that's probably my fault, not yours. But we'll get it worked out. I do think I'm going to be able to eventually pivot when there's not baseball to do during the afternoons and stuff, and be able to swing into just doing some football shows during the afternoons during the week. That was the original plan, and just as I said, haven't found enough hours in the day. But I'd like to start doing that, next week for week 4, at worst the week after for week 5 when baseball's basically over. But anyway, Greg Biancone says, bitchin' logo, by the way. Thanks, buddy. Quite literally made that with some free online logo maker and their base template of things. I searched binoculars. I said that works. Actually, it looks like a little arrow pointing up, which I thought worked out. Who else is here? Frederick Dute's here, waiting on his 2025 Mets playoff tickets. Yeah, that might be. I do think it'll be a quick turnaround. Gotta rebuild the pitching staff a little bit, but they've got all the pieces you could want. So I think they have the ability to turn that one around pretty quickly, and they obviously grabbed a few key prospects, so hopefully that works out. Lone Wolf's here, Kevin O's here, Ken Woodhouse is here. Who else is hanging around? Poe DJ and Stoner's here. King of Smack. King of Smack says, what do you think of a Minnesota stack tonight? They rank 4th by fantasy point projections, 3rd by FanDuel value, 3rd by DK value. It's pretty good. Did I not sort that board when I put it up? Or did I resort it for something else? Let me see what that looks like real quick. That one's sorted correctly. Stacks board. I didn't resort the stacks board. It's colored. People can figure it out. I guess I should redo that real quick. Bear with me for 3 seconds, gang. I shouldn't have clicked on that. Clicked on the clock instead of the... What you call it there? The copy paster. I just got to redo that image that's in the rankings article for the stacks. So yeah, I think the Twins actually look like a pretty good option today. They've been popping up a little bit over the last few days, and they're usually a very strong value option. And it looks like that's the case again today. Again, and they rank 4th by value, 4th by points, 3rd by value on both sides, and 9th by home run upside, going up against Davis Daniel. So it should be a good spot. Let me just edit this real quick. I'll click you guys out into this view so you don't have to stare at my ugly mug while I do this. Just got to add the image in WordPress, and away we should go. There we go. All right, stacks board fixed for anybody who couldn't figure out the color coding. Anyone else see a Japanese movie? It might have just been because I was using the copy paste tool here. Let me close down those other things. Should be back. Not choppy anymore. Yeah, it's probably like when I open up WordPress or when I was using the copy paste tool. Just let me know if it's still choppy for anybody out there. But I assume it was just because I was doing something there. But anyway, let's get into this one. What do you say? Interesting board. Where's the word total? What is going on here? I guess I sorted this. It's just weird. I don't know why that was up there. I don't even know why the word total's there, to be honest. It's not like I total up the salary or the fantasy points right there. I'm just going to see you later, total. Anyway, Interesting board. Charlie Morton at the top, kind of unexpectedly. Obviously a very, very talented veteran pitcher, but going up against a fairly low strikeout Nationals lineup. I do think he's got the upside to get there. It's only a 6 and change inning projection, so it's got him going like slightly over 6. So, yeah, I think if we get 6 innings out of Charlie, high 30s, somewhere in this territory is probably realistic. Framber Valdez, I believe in that one a whole lot more, going up against Kansas City. Obviously, tons of talent there. Been up and down a little bit this season. Has had some weird blips that are uncharacteristic of him, but overall, probably the top pitching talent on this slate. Pablo Lopez, another very good pitcher. Very, very high price, though. Going to need to be pretty perfect for those prices. Good opportunity to do so against that Angels lineup. Cole Ragans, really tough spot. Got dinged a little bit last time. Price is very, very cheap, though, for what his talent apparently is. If you'd shown me this one like a month and a half ago, I would have been like, wow, that's a weirdly high price on FanDuel. But he's been really good outside of his most recent start. Terrible matchup against the Astros for him. Dean Kramer, not a premium strikeout matchup, but a pretty safe spot for him. Projected out fairly well for the money. Same story with Dane Dunning. A lot of strikeouts available in that Seattle lineup. Obviously, big series right here. Dane Dunning's had some really good outlier spots for strikeouts this year, and he's just been good for strikeouts on the overall. So I like this spot. I like the projection. Chris Sale went 6th the last time. No idea really what to make of him, but obviously premium pitcher going up against a weak White Sox lineup could definitely go beyond this number if he gets 6 and manages to get through it. Gibson Long, monster game his last time out, 8,300, 7,700. Wasn't really on the prospect radar. We were talking about him a little bit in the Discord before, but obviously has shown an ability to get out major league hitters with the strikeout. Was doing it in AA, was doing it in AAA in a short stint there, and has been good. So I think that's a realistic projection going up against a really weak Oakland lineup. Waldichuk gets a bump from facing Detroit. He's bad/inconsistent. Like his okay starts are inconsistent and everything else is bad. So I don't love that one, but he's very cheap. This isn't an unrealistic projection against Detroit. Bryce Miller, I like him a lot, but a bad spot. And then bottom of the board kind of thins out. Taiwan has realistic upside beyond this for 81, 82. He's an okay play, but I don't necessarily need to tango with the Mets with all these decent options above him. Shane Bieber, I don't know what the innings are going to look like. First start back in the show, he went 3 1/3 in each of 2 minor league starts coming back just over the last couple of weeks, but I don't know what to make of it. I think this is probably about all we're seeing. So this is probably a realistic projection, but also around the ceiling. For 95, 94, I just don't think it's on the board. Davis Daniel, meh, but very, very cheap. Sean Manaea has been more successful in the bulk relief role, has a matchup against the Dodgers, don't love that. Hudson and Brendan Fate pitching against the Yankees in Yankee Stadium, don't really like any of these options. Patrick Corbin facing Atlanta. So, a lot to go through, 11 games. Let's get into it. First one up, I think we can mostly ignore the pitching in this one. It wouldn't completely stun me if Brendan Fate came out, had a pretty good game here, struck out 6-7 hitters, went 6 clean innings or gave up a run or 2 on a home run or something, but had an overall good start. So as a $6,800 SP2 value, I do think you can play him. I just don't think he's the right guy and the right opportunity tonight. Talented kid, hasn't had a good debut season. 5.86 ERA, 4.77 xFIP, a 5.32% home run rate that has hitters like Aaron Judge just salivating tonight. But he has had a few good spots. He had a pretty strong August. Fell apart in the last start of August against the Dodgers, but he had 4 good starts through August. Was looking like the kid that they expected him to be. 20.7% strikeout rate overall, only a 6.9% walk rate, which is good. 11.1% swinging strikes, which is good. Demonstrable ability to miss bats in the show. But the premium contact's just been atrocious so far. A fly ball pitcher giving up 11.2% barrels, 44.2% hard hits, 90.4 miles an hour of exit velo, all these home runs, going up against, at worst, Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, Gleyber Torres, if not some of these other guys. It's just not a great spot. He could have an okay game. Luke Weaver, don't really see the opportunity to have an okay game. Diamondbacks are a low strikeout team on the other side. It's climbed a little bit. It's up to 19.9%. They've been diminished in the second half a little bit. But overall, it's a very, very good lineup that's difficult to get out with the strikeout. And Luke Weaver's just not very good. 6.77 ERA and 114 and a third, 19.1% strikeout rate, 5.15% home run rate, 10% barrels on a 14.9 degree angle. This is also very home run oriented. Offenses on both sides in this one are definitely in play. Yankee Stadium, actually, what's the weather look like? There is a tropical storm heading toward the eastern seaboard. I meant to check the weather before we started up. Roth's got it all green. Atlanta, Washington is the only one he seems concerned about. And then I guess Colorado at the Cubbies. Is that on the slate? I can't remember. Everything else looks all right. Washington's that weird one. They tend to get funky with delays and quick trigger postponements and not wanting to wait. But I guess the rain's not getting here till later on, so we should be clean. Not a overly warm day, but not like a cold fall night, not a cold late September night like you've seen in the past in Yankee Stadium. So definitely think you can fire away with bats on both sides. On the Diamondbacks end, Corbin Carroll, 10.66 in the home run model. Christian Walker also over the magic number. Ketel Marte lingering right there. A lot of power showing through for the Diamondbacks side. 7.35 for Lourdes Gurriel, who arguably could be ranked higher than that against this pitcher. 24 home runs for him on the season, a 2.12 ISO. Making great contact, doesn't strike out at all. Walker makes great contact, doesn't strike out. Pham, team leading 49.7% hard hit rate, only strikes out 22.3%, 16 homers, 21 steals, 203 ISO. All four of their first four hitters over a 200 ISO. Same with their six hitter. Not a bad collection of options on the Diamondback side. Carroll's price is down a little bit on DK for the slump is unfair, but hasn't been as ridiculously productive. That said, 25 home runs and 50 stolen bases is a pretty damn good rookie season. Just cooled off a little bit over the last few weeks, but still worth the money on both sides. $4,000 on FanDuel. I'm fine paying that because everybody else is fairly cheap. Ketel Marte is affordable at $3,700, one of the best second basemen in the game. Pham is $3,700, $32. So they're very cheap. Christian Walker is just always way too cheap. 44, he's a $5,000 player on DK. 32, he should be 35 on FanDuel. 30 home runs, 10 stolen bases, doesn't strike out, creates runs 20% better than average, 232 ISO, pretty good triple slash, mashes the ball. I really don't get it. From the bottom of the lineup, Alek Thomas in the middle at 26-25 is a playable part. 9 home runs, 9 steals. Hasn't really been good. 22% worse than average creating runs, but has talent, if you get me. So I do think there's a little bit of potential there for the cheap prices. Gabe Moreno I like as a catcher, 2,300, 7 home runs, 6 stolen bases, a 106 WRC plus, a very good triple slash. He's been a catalyst in that offense a little bit. Jace Peterson or all the Perdomo mix and match options at the bottom. Perdomo gets on base at a 355 clip, which is really valuable. Take him wrapping around back to the top end. On the Yanks side, it's not as good. There's one superstar in the lineup, then Gleyber Torres. Giancarlo Stanton, for as bad as he's been, still has ridiculous power against anybody and against the pitcher who's giving up power. I do think there's potential there. But with the way that Brendan Fett misses bats, Stanton's downside will be also very clear in this game. So I don't even love him as an option. I really just these two guys. But I do think you can stack Yankees because you've got like a cheap Estevan Florial in the leadoff spot. 200, 351, 233. At least he's getting on base in his 37 plate appearances in the show this year. But he was absolutely raking in the minors. He destroyed AAA this year. Was very, very good in AAA last year. Has always had a ton of talent. He's just been blocked at every opportunity. So getting a little bit of a shot here late in the season. Very, very cheap. Leading off ahead of Aaron Judge. It's just a spectacular spot if you can manage to get yourself to first base. And he does that fairly regularly. Gleyber's had a great season, 14.6% strikeouts, 25 homers, 13 steals, a 123 WRC plus, the only other player other than Aaron Judge on the team to be over the league average for run creation. Stanton, just disappointing, 12% below league average for run creation for a former MVP. 24 home runs on the season, 188, 273, 421. Jake Bauers, also sub Mendoza, Anthony Volpe, thereabouts, Oswald Peraza, sub Mendoza. Austin Wells, sub Mendoza. It's pretty bad when it comes to the batting average department here. And some of these guys, these guys get on base. Not so much these guys. That's the thing. When I say that they're a flawed team in terms of trying to build sabermetrically, like, this would be fine if he was Kyle Schwarber and this was a 360 whatever, a 340 whatever that Schwarber has, and he was walking 16% to go with his 28.8% strikeout rate. His ISO is fine. His 233 ISO, his 24 home runs in less than 400 plate appearances is all fine. The contact is spectacular, but he doesn't draw nearly enough walks. He doesn't get on base at all. So that's why it's a flawed lineup, even if you're shooting for that in that conversation that we were having from the other day. So they're just a bad representation of that. Bowers is cheap, does have power. He's also got a fantastic contact profile in his 259 plate appearances, 12 home runs, a 216 ISO. So I think Bowers is interesting for 27-25, first base and outfield on both sites. Austin Wells, their rookie catcher, lands in the cleanup spot, 44.1% hard hits so far. Has a home run that he hit just the other day, 47 plate appearances. Hasn't been great, but a good hitting catcher that they're expecting to hit at the major league level and kind of be the catcher. They hope he can stick defensively, but has potential to be the catcher going forward. 44.1% hard hits is good, and he's very cheap for a catcher, hitting in a very good spot in the lineup. Volpe's a mix and match for counting stats, very inconsistent. Cabrera, not a major league hitter. Peraza is supposed to be a major league hitter, just hasn't done much. Very cheap with triple position eligibility on FanDuel. That has a lot of value. 2,900 only at third base, hitting ninth in the Yankees lineup. There's a lot of diminishing returns in that. So I'd say Diamondbacks bats, Yankees bats, Brandon Fate if you need to. No Luke Weaver. Where do they rank out? Yeah, Arizona ranks 5th, 8th by home run upside, 7th by FanDuel value, 5th by DK value. Poe DJ Stoner says Gibson whatever day. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Black Man, what's going on, buddy? Jake Swales says happy Friday, like button smashed. Yeah, hit the like button if you haven't yet. Fanatic says the whole team is inconsistent. Yeah, I don't disagree. Jake Bauers home run incoming. Wouldn't surprise me. Good lefty bat. Or not a good lefty bat, but a lefty bat with actual power. 19% barrels, 47.9% hard hits. That's about all he does. But it wouldn't surprise me. Any lefty has a shot to hit a home run in Yankee Stadium, too. I mean, get the ball in the air against a kid who just gives up fly balls. 19.1 degree average launch with a lot of pop behind it. We could see a lot of home runs on both sides of this one. This wouldn't be a worst game in the world to game stack. Not that I go out of my way to build game stacks because baseball doesn't really work that way. But if you're looking for a game stack, there's realistic offense on both sides of this one. Another game where I don't really care about either pitcher. Tyler McGill doesn't project well at all going up against the Phillies here. 17.9% strikeouts, 10.7% walks for him. 4.94 ERA with a 5.06 xFIP, giving up a decent amount of power. 3.30% home runs isn't tragic, but that's a lot of barrels. That's a lot of hard hits. That's a lot of exit velo. 12 degree average launch. It's kind of in the middle, but it's leaning in the fly ball direction. And we know that there's a lot of primo home run hitters here. See Kyle Schwarber compared to what we were looking at just a minute ago with Stanton. It's basically the same home run to plate appearance ratio. He's hitting 196 to Stanton's 188, but he's striking out 2 points more, but he's drawing 17.9% walks to Stanton's 10%. He's getting on base at a 344 to Stanton's, what was it, 280 something? 270 something? Creating runs 19% better than average versus 12% worse than average. This is why batting average doesn't matter. Kyle Schwarber is a fantastic option in any given slate. Definitely against a pitcher who's giving up a little bit of power. One of the leaders of the entire day, if not the leader of the entire day in the home run model. But basically all the Braves, yeah. Matty Ellison, Kyle Schwarber, Aaron Judge, Rafi Devers, who was the home run pick of the day, and then like the rest of the Braves. A lot of the usual suspects up the top of the board today. No real oddball outliers, but the Braves are drawing an absolute fuck ton of power. Trey Turner, 6,000, 4,000, 26 home runs, 28 stolen bases, a 108 WRC plus, has just been tremendous in now 666 plate appearances. Maybe he made a deal with the devil to turn his season around. Who knows? But he's done it. 42.4% hard hits, 22.2% strikeouts. Phenomenal season. Terrific option at shortstop. 5,900, 3,700. Well, phenomenal season. Phenomenal last 6 weeks. 59.37 for Bryce Harper. First base only on DK. First and outfield still on FanDuel. Another terrific option. 289, 393, 485, 137 WRC plus leads the team. Everybody in the Phillies lineup is above average for run creation. Everybody has some stolen bases. Well, everybody for the most part steals bases. Everybody for the most part hits home runs. It's a good lineup. All these guys in the middle here are cheap for their talent and for their production this year. Alec Boehm and Bryson Stott have both had breakout seasons. 278, 334, 438 for Boehm. 108 WRC plus with 18 homers. Stott, 282, 331, 424 with a 103. 15 homers, 29 steals. It's terrific. Both options, too cheap. 4,400, 4,500 second and third base. You can fill out your infield with this team just right there. That's not bad. I shouldn't have excluded Trey Turner from that. That's a pretty good infield if you just stack those guys. And it costs you 5,200 average. I think Boehm and Stott are worth paying 5,200 for, especially when you're getting Turner and Harper for that. JT Realmuto, 4,700, 2,800, great catcher option, 19 homers, 14 steals. Only at league average creating runs, but a 200 plus ISO. It's the exact kind of a catcher that you want, and he's too cheap. 11.4% barrels, 43.3% hard hits. The one thing he doesn't have is a spot in the lineup like up here. That would make him even more valuable, but a dynamite catcher option where you need him or where you don't. Nick Castellanos dropped in the lineup, but still a productive bat. 28 home runs, 274, 312, 476, 202 ISO, 109 WRC plus. Brandon Marsh, 375 on base, 124 WRC plus for the season. Second on the team, I believe. Yeah, second on the team. 10 home runs, 10 steals. Just a super productive guy when it comes to run creation. Excellent hard hit rate at 47.4%. Strikes out too much, doesn't walk quite enough, but a terrific on base percentage no matter, even in spite. Well, this is a good walk rate, don't get me wrong. It's just not like quite enough, but he's not a crazy power hitter. He actually hits for average. So between this and hitting for average, it amounts to the on base. Joan Rojas, 2,700, 2,600. He's been really good over 140. 299, 341, 433. 10% better than average creating runs. Top to bottom in basically any combination, I think you could play this Phillies team. I think you can get a little bit a little aggressive with them. Where do they rank? 10th. 10th for projections, but 5th for home run upside. Not the cheapest team in the world, though, in the points per dollar. Basically because of these three guys. On the Mets side, there are a few compelling bats for sure. They're going up against Taiwan. I think he's moderately playable from the mid-range. I just don't think you need him. I think you either go below these prices or above. He's the definition of a league average pitcher in that for 10 starts a year, he'll have a pretty decent game. Maybe not be a monster DFS asset, but a pretty decent game. A couple times a year, he'll have a competitive DFS start. I just don't really see it going up against the Mets here. 19.3% strikeouts overall, 4.40 ERA, 4.73 xFIP, a 9.7% walk rate is too high. Doesn't really induce swinging strikes, doesn't throw enough strikes overall. Doesn't really get lit up for contact. 6.7% barrels is okay. 40.5% hard hits is a little high, but it's fine. 89 miles an hour is fine. 2.79% home runs. He's okay, but I just don't think you need him. I don't think he's really a DFS option today. So I'd rather go to the Mets. I think the Mets are playable. They're stackable. Nimmo's a very, very good leadoff option. 47.4% hard hits. Nearly a 10% barrel rate. 48.31 is very cheap for a guy with 24 home runs, a 129 WRC plus. It's a very good player for those prices. Lindor, 26 homers, 30 steals, 116 WRC plus, 201 ISO. If you care about runs, he scored 100 runs. 43.3% hard hits. Nearly a 10% barrel rate. 54.37. Another excellent option at short. McNeil I don't really like. He's up to 271. He's cracked the 100 WRC plus. He was at 101. 10 home runs, 10 steals. Hasn't really been what he needs to be for them, though. 334 on base, and especially for our purposes, he's really got to get on base like 3 or 4 times to provide any real value. It is a good spot in the lineup, hitting ahead of Pete Alonso, Ronnie Mauricio, but I don't know. I don't love Jeff McNeil. I'd probably rather just 3-man it with these guys. Alonso's a great option. 5,500, 4,200. He's incorrectly priced on DK, correctly priced on FanDuel. 45 home runs, a 295 ISO, a 125 WRC plus. It's just bonkers that he only costs 5,500. 15.1% barrels. Doesn't strike out like crazy. Draws walks. Terrific player. Maurizio, 42 for second and third base, 3,000 for triple position eligibility on FanDuel. He's been pretty good in his 70 plate appearances. 277, 329, 369, 1 home run, 6 stolen bases. It's production. Brett Beatty hasn't been great. 3,200, 2,400, 8 home runs, 2 steals, a 70 WRC plus. Vientos also hasn't been great. 8 home runs. They both have 8 home runs in, Vientos did 203 versus 356. He has a great contact profile. 10.7% barrels, 53.4% hard hits. Strikes out a little bit more, walks a little bit less, man for man versus Beatty. But I prefer the Vientos option, especially when I can get them for $2,700 compared to $32. They're the same price on FanDuel, similar positioning with Vientos fitting into 2 spots. But I just like him a little bit better. I think the Mets do too. 78 WRC plus overall. Neither one of them has been overly productive. Rafael Ortega, mix-in option at best. Omar Narvaez, mix-in option at catcher at best. Lost his job, never got it back, never really got into the season at 190, 271, 259 with 1 home run in 134 plate appearances. Does have left-handed pop in his bat in seasons past, but not a great option, hitting 9th. Oops. Didn't need to click that. Let's see what's going on in the chat. King of Smack says Atlanta, Arizona, Minnesota, and New York, LAD. Should be a go in Washington. Rain like to come in around 9-ish. Dodgers should rough Mania up. Jake Bauer's home run coming. We saw the home team is inconsistent comment. Dennis Forgy says, so you're saying you think they should bunt Stanton more often? He'd get the bat on the ball more often that way. Let's put it that way. But no. Unfortunately, with his blazing speed on the base paths, I don't think he'd be beating out many base hit bunts. Pitching is wild tonight, says Jake. Kevin O says, Cass, great last night. Not sure who you mean. Po DJ and Gibson, whoever, Torkelson, not Torkinson. Albies, Riley, Luciano, San Francisco shortstop, not the crime boss that helped the OSS against the Nazis, then helped set up the heroin trade, but whatever. Acuna, Ozuna, Palacio, Vierling on FanDuel. Pray for my baseball soul. Yeah, Ventos had a good day yesterday. Lone Wolf says, cost me about $500 yesterday not playing. Oh, that was that lineup that tied, right? You dropped it in the Discord? Yeah. That sucks. Jalen Waddle, questionable. We knew that already. Pacheco, Kadarius Toney, questionable. We also knew that already. Irrelevant news. So I think it's more bats on both sides. The more playable of the two pitchers is Taiwan, but I don't think you need them. So I would go Phillies bats, then Mets bats. Gotta be, right? Yeah, Mets down at 16th by points and value on both sides. 10th by home run potential. Phil's the better option at 10th, 5th by home runs. The Bravos. Remember when I said the Braves are drawing ridiculous power numbers? The Braves are drawing ridiculous power numbers. Kevin Pillar in the bottom of the lineup instead of Eddie Rosario today. Pillar is more of a defender. 3,000, 2,400 is easy to mix into lineups to help offset some of the high prices at the top of the lineup. That said, these guys project so well, and we answered the question yesterday, these guys project so well that they just break the point per dollar scale, and they're typically ranked as the top point per dollar team despite all these high prices at the top of the lineup. A lot of the guys in the middle, like Marcelo Ozuna, at 4,600, 3,300, that's an undeniable value. Dude's got 35 home runs this year, a 263 ISO, a 131 WRC plus. He mashes the ball with a 15.5% barrel rate, 48.1% hard hits. He's been absurdly good. Orlando Arcia, 3,700, 2,800 has been really good. 17 home runs, a 102 WRC plus, hits the ball very hard, doesn't strike out much at all. Excellent option for pretty cheap prices, 37, 28. You gain a lot of value out of guys like that. Mikey Harris, 43, 32. 18 homers, 20 steals, 17% better than average creating runs, 294, 333, 483. Strikes out 18% of the time, hits the ball hard, 48.3%. What's not to like? Sean Murphy is cheap late in the lineup. He's dropped all the way down to 8th, but he's still got a 15.7% barrel rate, 44.4% hard hits. He now costs 45.33 rather than the 58 that you were paying for him earlier in the season when he was hitting up here and just mashing everything. 20 home runs. He's been stuck there for a minute. 229 ISO, 330, 133 WRC plus. He's had a fantastic season. He's still one of the best hitting catchers in baseball. Dynamite options from here down, and then like the 4 best players in baseball this year at the top of their lineup. The average home run total among the top 4 players is 40. That's just stupid. 39 home runs and 68 stolen bases for Ronald Acuna with a 169 WRC plus. 32 home runs and 13 steals for Ozzie Albies, the best second baseman in baseball with a 120 WRC plus, 235 ISO. These guys don't strike out. Acuna should not be allowed to be this good and also not strike out. He strikes out at an 11.2%, walks at an 11.1%. 54.5% hard hits. He's outrageous. Austin Riley is ridiculously good. 36 home runs. Top power hitting third baseman in baseball. 125 WRC plus, 231 ISO. Matt Olson, top power hitting first baseman in baseball. 16.6% barrels, 55.8% hard hits. Only strikes out 23.4%, walks 14.4%. Also happens to hit 279 if you care about batting average. 386 on base. Take away his power and he's still really good. You cut that home run total in half. He wouldn't be worth 64, but he'd still be a really good player. That is a killer lineup. Any combination of all these guys. Really, it's any combination of these 8 guys and then Kevin Pillar's like your last man in mixer. He's the cheapest guy on the team for a reason. He's got 7 homers, 4 steals, and 183 plate appearances. Like I said, he's really here for defense. But he's okay to mix in the lower a price to be able to get to wrap around play ahead of Ronald Acuna. You can't tell me he doesn't have value hitting ahead of Ronald Acuna 4 times. Patrick Corbin, I think, is just a do not roster. 16.2% strikeouts, 5 ERA, 4.68 xFIP, 4.01% home runs. The home runs have been an issue for years. 3.79 last year, 4.93 the year before. Basically in complete samples. Hasn't been a good strikeout pitcher in years. 18% last year, 19% the year before. Hasn't been good for ERA or runs or whip or basically anything that you're supposed to do well on the mound. I'm not really sure why he's in the league anymore. I mean, I am, because they're the Nationals. He's got a contract, and what else are they going to do? But 6,500, 7,500. I don't think he's worth our time going up against the Braves. Charlie Morton on the other side. If I was playing this slate, if I was building 150 lineups, the FanDuel tournament sucked tonight, by the way. I'm just not playing. Might throw 1 in. Charlie will probably be my pitcher. If I build 1 lineup and put it in, I might go for a value guy like Gibson Long. Or I might just go to Charlie and just trust my projections here. I assume he's not crazy high owned. I think I'm probably out ahead of most of the industry on that projection. I haven't looked around, but I would have to think so. Overall this year, 3.66 ERA, 4.25 xFIP, 25.6% strikeout rate is very good, 11.4% walk rate, very bad. 1.97% home runs on a 9.9 degree average launch, 88.9 miles an hour of exit velo. Doesn't typically get lit up for power. Excellent swinging strike rate at 12.6. Very good CSW at 30.8. The whip is too high on the back of the walks. These guys don't really draw that many walks, though. For as low strikeout as they are, these guys do not draw walks. They don't really get on base. They put bat on ball fairly well. They might limit Charlie's strikeout upside, but if he doesn't slip up and walk some of these guys, I think there's upside. I think there's potential. This might. I feel like that's high. I thought about dropping the inning projection by like a half an inning and just cutting it down below 40 just for the hell of it. But like, I don't know. I didn't really want to cheat it. I didn't really see the need to. I don't think he's incapable of getting to that level. That's closer to a ceiling score than it is to a baseline. But that's where we're at. So grab that. Give me 6 more for the win. Give me 6 more for the quality start. We're off and running. So I think Charlie's got a lot of upside today. It's not like he's been pitching atrociously bad. He's been very good at limiting power. It's just the walks that have burnt him. It's really been the only issue. So we can go to Charlie, or at least I can. 99 on DK. I think it's a very, very good price. 10-3 on FanDuel is fair. I'd like it to be lower, but it's fine. Nationals, you can mix in some nats if you want. If you want to attack, if Charlie gets popular. If you think I'm just completely wrong and the model's wrong, and you want to just grab some of these low-end guys and hope that they don't strike out, put the ball in play like they tend to do from time to time. But overall, you've got 1 guy in that lineup above average for run creation, 1 guy in that lineup, same guy, with a 200-plus ISO. Actually, it's only 1 guy with a 175-plus ISO. 1 guy with more than 20 home runs. Two guys with more than 15 steals. This is not a good baseball team. CJ's a good player. 18 homers, 42 steals. 92 WRC plus, not ideal. 302 on base, not ideal. Doesn't strike out much, but doesn't really walk. Lane Thomas does strike out a lot, 25.6% strikeout. He's their best player. He's the guy with the 111 WRC plus, the 200 ISO, the 26 homers, the 19 steals. By far their best player this season, but does strike out quite a bit, doesn't walk. Joey Meneses doesn't strike out, doesn't walk. Keibert Ruiz dramatically doesn't strike out, but also doesn't really walk. Doesn't hit for a ton of power, despite, we think, having more power than that. 17 home runs on the season for him is third on the team behind CJ Abrams, Joey Meneses with 13 is next. 11 home runs for Dom Smith. Look at him coming on for power. Wasn't he at like 9 the other day? I know he was just 10. So he's hit one in the last couple days. I know he has talked bad about Dom Smith. I'd love to see him turn into a good player. I had him on a fantasy team, on that dynasty team for a little while, I think. Or at least, maybe it was a different keeper league. I think it was my other keeper league. The one I don't actually care about that much because it's not for money. And it's head-to-head. I don't like head-to-head for baseball. But anyway, Smith just hasn't really pulled his career together. 11 home runs is fine. 257, 327, 367. And that's what you're looking for. That's, fine for the money, I guess. A key contributor in their offense. I wouldn't skip them if I was building a ton of national stacks. But I just don't think I would be building a ton of national stacks. So much so that I didn't bother to fix Luis Garcia again. Carter Kaboom, 31-27, hasn't done much. 3 home runs in 76 plate appearances is all right, but not really much else to speak of. Jake Alou, Jake Young, a little bit of speed at the bottom of the lineup, but pretty inconsistent. Don't really get on base. Alou strikes out at a pretty aggressive clip, 25.2%. Kaboom also at 27.6%. Small samples, but strikeouts down the bottom of the lineup. Like the spot for Charlie, like the spot for the Braves, not so much for anything national. So Braves bats way up top. Charlie Morton right there in terms of the pitchers. Nothing from the Nats side, but if you wanted to hedge if you had a bunch of Charlie, you should probably grab a couple hedge stacks at the top end of the Nats lineup if you're building 150. If you're only building 20 and you've got a handful of Charlie lineups, I don't think you need to hedge. That's more of a 150 play. I don't think it's a very good spot for Nationals bats, and I certainly wouldn't want to have any Pat Corbin. Orioles and the Guardians. I guess I should have checked if that lineup was in. It's not. Or I need to reload Fangraphs. Fantasy Labs. All these sites. That's the other thing about football. It's just like, as much as it's more limited with like fewer players per team that could be relevant each night, with like it's the quarterback, like 2 or 3 wideouts, 1 running back, the tight end, the defense. But it's so many fewer things, but there just seems like there's so much more to keep tabs on, so much more to adjust with, all right, this guy's out, or this guy's questionable, this guy's had a concussion all week long, he's practicing but still in the concussion protocol today, which I don't really feel like makes any sense. But yeah, just a lot to keep up with football-wise, where baseball's just more like, yeah, these guys basically play every day unless somebody, gets hurt, which doesn't happen nearly as much in baseball, and we just dunk the lineups in, and the math takes care of itself. So it's weirdly different. Anyway. Shane Bieber, don't think we're getting the innings. Not for 9,400, 9,500. 2 rehab starts. Went 3 1/3 in both of them over the last couple of weeks. Even if they were like, hey, leash off, I don't think we're getting more than like 5. Also just hasn't really been great this year. 19.4% strikeouts. That's okay. Giving up a lot of premium contact, not on a big launch angle, not a ton of barrels. Tons of hard hits and exit velo. 2.86% home runs, had a 3.77 ERA, a 4.09 xFIP, and just hasn't pitched in the show since mid-July. So I think the price is wrong. If they had him priced down, it would be an interesting opportunity. But I like the O's. I think it's a good offense. Have some good projections at the top. Fairly easy to get to price-wise, with guys like Austin Hayes at only 3,000, Heston Kjerstad 2,700, 2,400. Those are premium options. Baltimore ranks 7th by projections, 10th by FanDuel value, 8th by DK value, 13th by home run potential. That's done against Bieber, but keep in mind, half the game they're going to get into the bullpen. So I like the opportunity. Gunner at the top, excellent option. 6.72 in the home run model. That's going up against, Bieber's track record. Has been good at limiting power over the last few years. 2.28% home runs last year, 2.72% 2 years ago. Does keep the ball down fairly effectively. Does tend to give up the premium contact. 42.9% is not exactly 46.1. The exit velo's been up, so that's what I was pointing out here. But he does tend to give up contact and keep the ball to a fairly decent launch angle to check home run power. I just don't know that we're getting that version of Bieber today. Adley, 5,100, 3,500, 14% strikeouts, 13% walks, gets on at a 368 clip as a catcher who hits second. You can't do much better than that for value. Also hits for power with 19 home runs and 652 plate appearances. Also, 652 plate appearances, just full stop, as a catcher, is tremendous. No other catcher's got that many plate appearances this year. I'm fairly confident. Plays basically every day. 123 WRC plus on the season. Excellent option. Santander, 4,400, 3,300. Too cheap for his talent. 27 home runs, 219 ISO, 118 WRC plus. O'Hearn just keeps on hitting. 14 homers, 206 ISO, 132 WRC plus, and he is still cheap. 3,700 on first base only on DK, so they took away his outfield eligibility. Doesn't really matter with Mountcastle on the IL. He can have first base all to himself for now. First and outfield still on FanDuel. A little bit more value just given the outfield positioning, but an excellent option. Left side of the plate, 10.8% barrels, 52.2% hard hits. Who is this guy? Where did he come from? This is not the Ryan O'Hearn that used to play in KC. Aaron Hicks, 25, 26. He's at least cheap. Gets on base at a decent clip. 264, 355, 400. That was always Aaron Hicks' thing. See a lot of pitches, get on base, draw some walks, 12.5% walk rate. Typically sees 8-10 pitches a plate appearance. He's always been good at that. 264, 355, 400. I mean, it's not a totally lost season in 287 plate appearances. 113 WRC plus. This line certainly looks a lot better than 7 of the 9 guys in the Yankees lineup, and they ran him out of town because Yankees fans are assholes. I wasn't a big fan of what Hicksy was doing this season, I gotta say. Everybody who was watching earlier in the season knows that. Just once the fans started booing him, I do think he kind of gave up on New York and was just like, miserable. This sucks. So it makes sense that he bounced back when he got out of town. Some fans that actually liked him and embraced him. Dean Kramer on the bump. I think he's playable at 87, 88. Going up against the Guardians lineup, he landed like in the middle of the board. That's a fairly decent projection for the mid-range salary. If you're just looking for options that are not the most expensive guys on the table, but not the cheapest either, solid mid-range option for Kramer. 21% strikeouts this year, 4.17 ERA, 4.42 xFIP, a 10.1% swinging strike rate. Hey, did I get choppy there with the audio, by the way? I realized I jumped back to a tab that I had open before when that happened. Let me know. I just want to figure out what exactly it is. I think it was probably because I had the copy-paste tool open, oddly. D loves O'Hearn. What's up, D? Power says Edelman does the best Belichick impressions. I haven't seen that. I got to check that out. Chuck Deuces is here. What's up, Chuck? Look at all the lefties on the Guardians. Yeah. That reminds me of that scene in Major League when he's trying to give Rick Vaughn a pep talk. And he's saying, look at Harris over there, and he like squints at him. What about him? What about all those lefties? Cole Calhoun, Stephen Kwan, Will Brennan, Bo Naylor's not bad. Andres Jimenez not bad. Josh Naylor's obviously very good. Jose Ramirez hits from both sides. Yeah, there's a lot of lefties going up against Kramer. I will give you that. It's a decent call. The two key guys are showing a little bit of power. I just think that the Guardians have been so just meh all season. They're not a great target in terms of low strikeouts, and he's not a premium strikeout pitcher. I just think we're getting around this with a moderate amount of ceiling into like the 30s on a FanDuel score. For 8,800, that's fine. It's not a premium guy. I don't think he's going to go out and put up a monster. But for the salary, I do think he works. But yeah, I just don't like this Guardians lineup that much. Like, I think Cole Calhoun 5 home runs and 157 plate appearances, a 149 ISO. He's not striking out a ton, I'll give him that, but not really crushing the ball when he makes contact either. Only slots in at first base where you want Josh Naylor, so he's out in terms of stacking. He's going to be there for real life, obviously, but hasn't really done much. 227, 299. Andres Jimenez is 13 homers and 30 steals, a 316 on base. Has not been delivering for most of the season, up to a 97 WRC plus, maybe getting his act together. Kwan is definitely getting his act together. 348 on base, up to 275 in the average, 20 steals, 5 home runs. We don't really care about that with Kwan, but a 105 WRC plus is starting to climb. This is the key factor for Steven Kwan. So if he's getting on base a little bit more, which he has been lately, then his WRC plus and everything about him gets a lot better. So I think if you're stacking these guys, these 3 are the priority, then probably these 2. But everybody from here down really, it doesn't really push me away from Dean Kramer, if that's what the lefty comment was about. But it is a good note. There are certainly a lot of lefties that Kramer will have to get through. What's his numbers against lefties look like this season? Let's see. Mr. Kramer has faced 309 lefties. He's allowed 15 home runs, 268 average, 343 on base. It's not great. Against righties, he's faced 385 righties. He's allowed 12 home runs, 244, 294, 383. You do expect lefties to be better against him, obviously. In terms of the numbers, 19.7% strikeouts, walks too many lefties for sure. 10% walk rate against lefties. 503 xFIP against lefties. 397 against righties. 1.96 home run per 9 versus a 1.14 is what that amounts to. I usually prefer to talk in home run percentage, but I can't do that math in my head that quickly. So yeah, I mean, the lefties are definitely going to be a little bit of a threat. He obviously hasn't been as good against lefties, so it's a good shout out. I appreciate the note. And since he's just kind of a mid-board option, maybe that tarnishes him a little bit in terms of how he does project okay. I'm not going to go against the model. I'm not going to say that he's not, that's not where I would want it to be. But that is an interesting thought. He's not a high strikeout guy anyway, and they're a low strikeout team. So if you're taking away the strikeout potential, you're taking away that, and he's got to face a lot of lefties when he's been worse in the split. We're piling up reasons to maybe not go to the Dean Kramer mid-range play. Appreciate the note, whoever said that. Who said it? Where'd it go? Somebody said it. Maybe I made it up. Kevin O. There it is. Appreciate the note, Kev. That was a good thought. Good thought exercise. Good thing to look at. Take our way through. So, yeah, good call. Greg B. and Cohn. How bad is it to steal Joe Booth's rum? It's very bad. Fate and Walker and Waldachuk getting too much ownership today on FanDuel. Too many studs in too many bad places. Good spots. I was thinking Kramer versus lefties. Bad. Yeah. Yeah, Fate and Walker. Out of those 3 guys that you mentioned there, Chuck, Brendan Fate, Taijuan Walker, and Kenny Waldachuk, I think I like Taijuan Walker the most. We've succeeded with Taijuan the most. Fate's probably got the most talent in that group, but just a really bad spot for him and just hasn't delivered on that talent for the most part this season. Where Walker's just he's an established, just average pitcher. So average does have upside on the right day. I just don't think today's that day. But between those 3 guys, I do think that Taijuan would be the most interesting. But that's interesting that all 3 are drawing ownership today. I would not have expected that in Yankee Stadium for Brendan Fate. So to continue the thought on this one, yeah, Beeb's probably not getting enough pitches. Somebody in the chat just said 80 pitches. Fred Doot says around 80 pitches. So yeah, I just don't think that's for that money. I don't think that's enough. Would have to revert back to 30% strikeout for him to get that. Travis Duarte says Walker's going to get lit today. Wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, to clarify that was just saying that I like him best out of those 3 guys. Not to say that I like him. I think he's a very, very average, mediocre kind of a pitcher. So if we're going to Guardians, which I don't think I'm endorsing, even though we've maybe gotten away from the Dean Kramer mid-range play here, if you do go to the Guardians side, Steven Kwan, Jose Ramirez, and Josh Naylor belong in like all your lineups. And then, like I said, I'd probably go Andres Jimenez and Gabriel Arias. There's an argument to be made for cheap Cole Calhoun hitting cleanup, just directly tied to the top three guys in the lineup. Jimenez gives you more positional value for 4,000, 3,100 at second base, more counting stat value, more consistency than Cole Calhoun has delivered, despite his down season. Gabe Arias is probably the more comparable guy to Calhoun. Between those two, you're just basically deciding on a power bat. Arias is the only righty in the key bats in the top 8 in this lineup. 46.5% hard hits, 9.6% barrels, 10 home runs, and 336 is kind of compelling, but I could go either way with that. Cole Calhoun or Gabe Arias is fine. Or you could drop all the way down and just grab Bo Naylor if you're playing on DK as your cheapo catcher. That said, very limited option. They projected near the bottom of the board. They never look all that good. 19th out of 22 teams. Not great. Orioles side we talked about, kind of up and down, or at least through the top end of the lineup. I think I bailed somewhere around Aaron Hicks and got sidetracked. Austin Hayes, 3,000, definitely viable. Has had a good season. 16 home runs, a 114 WRC plus, decent triple slash. Productive hitter in the middle of that lineup. Heston Kjerstad for 2,700, 2,400 is an absolute bargain. One of the top prospects in baseball when he got called up. Has delivered 2 home runs already, a 139 WRC plus, 333 ISO. Has mashed over 18 plate appearances with a 27.3% barrel rate, 72.7% hard hits. He struck out 38.9% and hasn't walked yet, but monster 18 plate appearances. Jordan Westberg, pretty good. 265, 317, 413, 101 WRC plus, 3 homers, 4 steals. Interesting option for cheap in the middle of the infield. Ramon Urias, 2,400, 2,500. More valuable where you get him at 3 positions on FanDuel, but does have a little bit of pop in that bat. So it's, I guess we'll knock the pitchers down. So let's go Orioles bats. I'm going to still stick Dean Kramer ahead of the Guardians bats, but it's like Orioles bats and then like Dean Kramer, Guardians bats. And I don't think we go to Biebs. I just don't see it for the money. Oh, thanks, Tiz. Tizzle says Suarez is opening for Daniels. That will be good to know when we get to that game. Yep, looks like that changed up on Labs. Curious what... I just want to take a quick look since it's fresh in my brain. Inning last time out, inning in 2/3, and that's it in September. So yeah, that's just going to be, maybe he gives them 2. I just wanted to see if he'd been going like 3 or 4 in the 2 recent outings. If he had, then it would be like, probably split the baby in terms of the projection. White Sox, Touki Toussaint, don't think we're going here either. Haven't had a lot of pitchers early. 5.4 ERA, 4.83 xFIP, 15.2% walks. There's your problem. 23.2% strikeouts is actually pretty decent. 2.93% home runs, not bad. 7.9% barrels, not bad. Good launch angle. It's just the walks. The walks have been eating him alive. 1.47 whip. That is problematic in 76 and 2/3. Does seem like he's got some talent if he can figure out how to wrangle this. Everything else is all right. Swinging strike rate could be a little bit higher, but that's not bad. 28.2, this could be, the CSW could be a little bit higher, but with that walk rate, the CSW being that high is actually a miracle. 63.75 going up against the Red Sox, just not the right spot. Rafi Devers, home run pick of the day. One of the top, top 3 on the board? 5,200, 4,100, still just incorrectly priced on DraftKings. Not that Touki gives up a ton of power by any means. As I said, good average launch angle. Okay in the home run rate, but Rafi Devers is a primo power hitter. 33 home runs, a 241 ISO, and 625 plate appearances. 55.2% hard hits, 12.8% barrels. Monster option. Sedan Rafaela, their premium rookie. Everybody's got premium rookies this year. All over town. Rafaela, 36-27. 61 plate appearances. He's got 2 home runs, a stolen base so far. 117 WRC plus, 305, 328, 492. Pretty dynamite option. Shortstop and outfield on DK. Third base on FanDuel. Why not? 2,700, 3,600. Turner, first base, 4,200. First and third, 3,300 on FanDuel. 23 homers, a 119 WRC plus. Alex Verdugo hitting cleanup today. Weird spot in the lineup for him. I guess I couldn't figure out what else to do. Just wanted to get righty-lefty going through. Probably would have gone Yoshida there. Verdugo there. Kind of a weird choice. But anyway, Verdugo, 268, 326, 430. An okay season from him at league average for run creation. Adam Duvall, 20 home runs. Yoshida, 15 home runs. 118, 108 WRC plus. Two highly playable options in the outfield for 4,100 and 4,000 on DK. 3,000, 2,900 on FanDuel. Easy options to get to. Trevor Story, 9.6% barrels, 41% hard hits. A pretty good mark in the home run model for somebody who's so cheap. At shortstop on DK, second and short on FanDuel. Only 177, 219, 292. Only a 30 WRC plus so far. 8 steals, 2 homers, and the premium contact is all we care about. Bobby Dahlbeck, speaking of premium contact, 83.3% hard hits, 33.3% barrels. First and third for 2,700. First only for 2,100 is an extreme discount for his talent. 1 home run, 1 stolen base in 29 plate appearances. Was mashing in the minors. Oh, come on. In the minors, Dahlbeck this season has 33 home runs and 493 AAA plate appearances, 18 stolen bases, a 288 ISO, a 269, 381, 557 triple slash, and he's created runs 31% better than average. That is who Bobby Dahlbeck is. They just need to leave him in the lineup and leave him in the major leagues. 2 years ago in 2021 with the Red Sox, his first full year in the show as a 26-year-old, 453 plate appearances. Everybody seems to forget he hit 25 home runs. Hit a 240, 298, 494 because he wasn't walking as much as he normally does. Throughout his minor league career, including this year with a 13% walk rate, he's been one of those 3 true outcomes guys. A lot of strikeouts, but he is a great eye at the plate. He draws walks like crazy. Just happened to not do it that season, and they kind of gave up on him unfairly. He still created runs 6% better than average that season. Had 25 home runs. Mismanaged career so far. Last year had 12 home runs and 353 plate appearances. Also wasn't really walking, 8.2%, but small sample. Kid that they should just leave alone, let him hit. That said, he was pushed by Tristan Casas as well at first base. Need to find a position for him or just trade him. Connor Wong, okay option at catcher at the bottom of the lineup. 9 home runs, 83 WRC plus. Not great. Chris Sale. I don't know that we're getting much depth out of Sale. I don't know that there's much ceiling beyond where he's projected, but I think he could realistically hit the number that he's projected for there with not that much fanfare. Went 6th the last time out, struck out 10 at Toronto. That's probably your ceiling outing. I can't imagine they run him out there for the 7th inning, even if things are going great. White Sox are a pushover opponent. It's a good spot for him. 26.4% strikeout rate for this team. Even in 6 innings. I mean, this is a 6-inning projection. So there's potential. There's also the potential for him to get an ouchie and come out of the game again. 4.66 ERA, 3.68 xFIP, 29.8% strikeout rate. When he's going right, he's a dominant strikeout pitcher. 13.6% swinging, 30.7% CSW, 92 and 2/3 innings in 18 starts this year. Hasn't given you great depth. 33.6% hard hits, though, is spectacular. Only 87.8 miles an hour of exit velo. There's nothing to dislike about Chris Sale except for the uncertainty of how deep he'll pitch, the efficiency. But upside, there's ceiling a little beyond this to mid-30s, higher. I mean, 10 strikeouts, obviously you're getting higher. So, I given what he did the last time out, he had a 9 strikeout game at Houston in 5 innings on the 23rd of August. He has that kind of a night. He's at least on the board. 9,200 on both sites. I would probably have some if I was building 150. He's not my choice if I'm building one. But I don't think he's necessarily a mistake. Discounted from the other top-end pitchers. You probably need a couple of these guys to go bust. Most particularly probably Fromber. But it's not like there's a ton of amazing options. Everybody in the world could argue that this is very high. Pablo Lopez, probably the next best choice there. So he's not far off projection-wise from like where Lopez is anyway. He's significantly cheaper than all these guys. And then you just got to get past the Ragginses, Kramers, Dunnings, and Gibson Longs of the world. Bryce Miller's against Texas. It's a weird pitching slate. Come on. I don't think you want to go to the White Sox against Chris Sale. Let's say he even just goes 5. Even with a lot of the righties in that lineup, premium guy like Luis Robert, it just doesn't really make that much sense to grab one of the worst teams in baseball against a spectacular strikeout pitcher, even if they're only facing him for 5. Tim Anderson, if you do go there, I like John Moncada hitting second. That's an improved spot in the lineup for him. 3,800, 2,900, up to 9 home runs, a 94 WRC plus, 333 plate appearances of mediocrity, but it's a good spot in the lineup for him rather than hitting down here. Tim Anderson's moderately playable from the top spot, 65 WRC plus. You're just basically relying on what he's done in years past to come around in the last handful of games of the season. Eloy Jimenez, 3,900, 2,800 is cheap for his power ceiling. 17 home runs, a 168 ISO, though. Hasn't really delivered as much as he should in 458 plate appearances. Should be a better power hitter than that. 47.5% hard hits helps justify that statement. Andrew Vaughn, 46.5% hard hits, 20 home runs, a 174 ISO. Should also probably be a better power hitter than he's been. Elvis Andrus sucks. Trace Thompson, okay power bat, 14.3% barrels, 42.9% hard hits, 6 homers in 149 opportunities, a 151 ISO though, sub Mendoza by a pretty wide margin. Zach Remillard, Corey Lee, mix in options late. Corey Lee's got a homer in 53 plate appearances, 2,500, 2,100. We did like his profile from the minors when we looked him up a few weeks ago, but limited output overall so far in the show. Negative 18 WRC plus so far in the show. Not great. This White Sox lineup sucks. I wouldn't be looking to include it all that frequently. Red Sox bats. Chris Sale. That's about it. It would surprise me if Tukey delivered today. Just don't like the spot for him. Rangers and the Mariners probably got lineups. Yep. Do that. Grab lineups. 5:07. Just kind of meandering our way through. We've got a lot of time today. Rangers. A lot of work to do tonight. After the show, won't be building lineups. Probably going to grab some dinner, which doubles as lunch. And then probably just dive into getting projections and stuff fixed and updated and accounting for any news that's broken during the show. Doesn't look like anything crazy's happened. Projections for week 3 of football are free up on the site at rotoscouts. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. All the rankings are free. All the content's free. The groups article will be up at some point the next day. The above below column will be up sometime in the next day. We'll have a full breakdown show tomorrow. Was planning on doing more show-wise, but no dice. Bo Degen Stoner tuna salad. No, not tuna salad, my friend. It's more of a just quick snack. Grab those little snack packs from the bodega, but tuna in the form of like sushi from the good sushi joint next door wouldn't be the worst option in the world. Kind of more in the pizza kind of a mood, though. Friday night, pizza night, a lot of the time. We'll see what happens. Jake Swales can't wait to see if Junior Caminero is in the Rays lineup tonight. Yeah, another premium prospect coming up. Getting a little cup of coffee here at the show at the end. Nathan Footy, who's the tournament pitcher for FanDuel? That's a good question. I mean, I might just go to, like I said, to Charlie at the top of the board. Just given I can't imagine he's all that crazy high owned. Where Fromber's probably getting more attention, Pablo's probably getting more attention, and they're more expensive. I like both of these guys quite a bit. They're two premium options today. I don't really love the spot for Raggins against Houston. We talked ourselves out of Dean Kramer while we were analyzing that one, so he's kind of off the board. I would consider Dunning at 84 here. That's the one I'll have to give some thought, just given the price discount from 10-3 with Charlie. That's probably my next tournament option. I don't know how crazy popular he's going to get at that price. And then I'm kind of intrigued by Gibson Long against Oakland. This is only, I think, a 5-inning projection. He's demonstrated monster strikeout ability. So I'm kind of interested in that one. Could easily implode. But especially if like the Waldichucks and the Fates and Taiwans of the world are getting a lot of attention on FanDuel, and he's not for whatever reason. I don't know if that's the case, but just judging by what everybody was saying in the chat before, if these guys are getting any kind of ownership at all, I think that just comes out of his share. So the lower he goes, the more interested I would be. I know I'm giving you a few choices here, but those are probably the guys I'd be deciding between from my one lineup that I'll probably end up entering. Be like Charlie, Dunning, or Gibson Long, or just pay up for one of these two. Hopefully that makes sense. So Domino's Pizza Hut. No, sir. No, sir. There's a few good pizza spots around. It's actually surprising with living in Jersey City. All of Hoboken, Jersey City, there's only a couple good pizza shops. There's too many that are like, we just make okay pizza that's giant size to cater to drunk kids in Hoboken every night. Surprise! There's a lot of better pizza places around in like towns all around North Jersey, but plenty of independent options that are not Domino's or Pizza Hut. So no, sir. Yeah, as Jake Swales points out, New York is like less than a mile that way across the river as the crow flies. It would absolutely be a sin to eat Domino's or Pizza Hut. Travis, I don't think it was a fluke. Travis is asking, did Brandon Fate find something, or do I think it was a fluke? No, I don't think it was a fluke. He pitched well through August and is a very talented kid, a kid that they actually like a lot. He's been inducing swinging strikes at the major league level, even in the clunky season. So I think there's just been spots where the talent shined through a little bit. Last time out against the Cubbies, who went 5 1/3, faced 20 hitters, gave up 4 hits, no earned, struck out 6. That was a good start back. Had given up 4, 3, 5, and 2 earned runs with only 4 strikeouts each game in limited innings over the course of the end of August and his first 2 September starts. But going back into August, he had a 5 1/3, allowed 2 runs, struck out 5 against Cincinnati, 7 innings, 24 hitters faced, 1 hitter, struck out 5, walked 3 at San Diego. 5 2/3, gave up 3 runs, struck out 8 against San Diego in the game before that. And then before that against the Dodgers was kind of clunky. Had a very good start at San Francisco to begin August. So I think he probably just, needed a little time to hit his stride in the show. They sent him down at one point to figure some stuff out, brought him back up. I think he's got it not totally figured out, but I think he is a talented kid. So those good starts that he's had, I just think it's his talent winning out. That's why I wouldn't be surprised at all if Fate had an okay start in Yankee Stadium today. It just doesn't project that way, especially if people are going to it. I don't think it's that good an option. But it wouldn't shock me, especially given the ineptitude of my Yankees. So I think it's real, like in terms of go forward, I think he's an okay like dynasty pitcher or whatever. I think he's going to be a good pitcher in his career. So here's Dunning. 7,900, 8,400, projects out all right. 19.3% strikeout rate on the season, a 3.78 ERA, 4.43 xFIP, a 2.88% home run rate. Hasn't really gotten burnt by power at all. Typically keeps the ball down to fairly effective range. A little bit up this year, 5.4 degrees last year, 6.8 the year before, up to 10.3 this year. But only giving up 2.88% home runs, actually a little better than last year. A little worse than the year before. But has also spiked a few just monster games through the year. Does have the ability to pitch to a strikeout ceiling. Let's see. He's got a 12 strikeout game, an 11 strikeout game, a 10 strikeout game, 7s, There's a lot of 3s and 4s and everything mixed in here. That's how you do that and then end up at a 19.3% strikeout rate. But my point is, he does have the ability to find strikeouts when they're there for him. And against the Mariners, they're there. 24.9% strikeout rate for this confirmed version of the lineup. That's boosted a little by Dominic Canzone in 170 plate appearances at 17.1. Ty France at the bottom of the lineup at 17.9 over 625 is very good at avoiding strikeouts. And J.P. Crawford at the top is sub 20 and walks at a decent clip. But all their key bats through the middle have aggressively high strikeout rates. 28.9% for Julio, Cal Raleigh, Teoscar, Eugenio, and Jared Kelenic. And then Josh Rojas at the bottom, not doing many favors with 24.3. So I think there's strikeout potential for Dane Dunning. I think he could go out and have another one of those big games today. 8,400 is the right price, even if he's just around this with a little bit of ceiling. And I think there's additional room beyond that. 7,900 puts him firmly on the DKSP2 board. Very, very good option here. Bryce Miller I like a lot. I just hate the matchup. 22.6% strikeouts, microscopic 4.8% walk rate for the rookie in his first 123 starts, or 123 innings, 23 starts. 3.88 ERA, 4.28 xFIP. He's been very, very good. 10.4% barrels a little high, 41.1% hard hits high, but only 2.81% home runs. Probably a little lucky to have this be here with everything else where it is. Fly ball oriented pitcher. We'll probably see that climb over time. But I think he's very talented. I think the strikeout rate goes up as he gets more acclimated to the majors over the next year. 11.5% swinging strike rate is very good. Doesn't throw enough called strikes to boost the CSW, but the 11.5% swinging is very high end. Just going up against a really good Rangers lineup. Semien and Seager at the top, 2 stars. Nathaniel Lowe, Josh Young, and Adolis Garcia both back in the lineup now. So they're back into their complete form. Arguably the more complete form than we ever saw at the beginning of the year because they got Mitch Garver and Jonah Heim in the lineup now. So just an excellent top to bottom setup. I think you can play Rangers against Bryce Miller. They probably rank, where do they rank on the board? Second by collective projections just because they're just so good. Third by home run potential because he has given up a little bit of premium contact, not necessarily resulting in home runs. But you've got Seager over the magic number, Garcia over the magic number, Young right around it, Semien right around it, a couple other guys floating in the middle. So just a good power team. They sit 11th by FanDuel point per dollar, 14th by DK point per dollar. So they're a little bit tough to get to, but probably worthwhile. I don't love targeting Bryce Miller because I do think he's talented, but I think you can go here, given how they project, given how good they are overall. Low is cheap for 4,500, 3,100, 16 homers, a 370 on base, a 121 WRC plus, hitting ahead of Young and Garcia now. 4,600, 3,300 for Josh Young. Did they forget how good he was earlier in the season? 12.3% barrels, 49.3% hard hits, 23 home runs in 475 plate appearances, a 215 ISO, creating runs 20% better than average, same as Adolis Garcia. Garcia's got a 253 ISO, 35 home runs. Monster season from him, 15.4% barrels, 49.5% hard hits. He's pretty cheap, 5,300, 3,600 for that season. That's a pretty terrific season. Jonah Heim and Mitch Garver, mix and match them. They're both playable catchers. 18 home runs apiece, 465 plate appearances for Heim, 309 for Mitch. 2 premium catcher bats, though. Leody Taveras, 3,300, 2,800. Playable, back up to a 100 WRC plus after dipping down to the low 90s like 2 weeks ago. 12 home runs, 14 steals on the season, 272, 317, 425. Wraps around well. So does Evan Carter for 34, 3,000. He's been dynamite over 44 plate appearances, creating runs 72% better than average so far. 2 homers, 2 steals. Not yet paying a tax for what he's done. 3,400, 3,000. Cheap wraparound option. If you do go to the Mariners against Dane Dunning, your options are primarily the high strikeout guys. J.P. Crawford's a very good option at 43.31 for correlated scoring, 378 on base, has 16 home runs of his own ahead of that group, creates runs 31% better than average. I wouldn't leave him out. Didn't mean to. Julio, 6,244. You're paying star prices, but he's giving you star caliber production again. 31 homers, 36 steals, a 132 WRC plus. Premium contact galore. Raleigh, tons of home runs, 29 homers. Teoscar, 25. Eugenio Suarez, 21. Sub 200 ISOs for Teoscar and Eugenio. 235 for Cal Raleigh. Just a monster season from him. Another excellent catcher option. Sees a lot of plate appearances, 527. One of the leading catchers for plate appearances. Hit is typically, high up in the lineup. Very, very good option. Kelnick, 3,800, 2,900, 11 homers, 12 steals, a 106 WRC plus in 387. Did a lot of this damage very early in the season. Looked like he was going to have that monster breakout. Got hurt, hasn't been around. 3,800, 2,900 though for the talent. I think it's an okay price to pay. 47% hard hits. France is a good mixer, 3,500, 2,800. Cheap bat, late in the lineup, capable guy. Ken Zone, similar story, 3,000, 2,500. 6 home runs in 170 plate appearances. Has been frisky, not great, but, produces here and there. 12.9% barrels, 42.4% hard hits, and doesn't strike out much. Rojas, just a mix in the infield. Probably, I guess Rangers bats have to go on top considering they're ranked second. So Rangers bats, Dane Dunning. Mariners bats, Bryce Miller. No part of it is out of play. Miller's just not a great option. All right, so this is going to be Jose Suarez to start this game. On the season, he's thrown 27 innings, only like 3 since May. He's only gone an inning and change since coming back. 17% strikeouts, 12.6% walks, 9.33 ERA with a 6.39 xFIP. So he can be safely ignored in his role as the opener. And then Davis Daniel. Is he anybody? 26 years old. Not highly regarded as a prospect. Hasn't really pitched much this year. I guess he was hurt, maybe. Last year in AAA, 102 and a third innings, a 4.49 ERA with a 5.83 xFIP, and a 19.4% strikeout rate in AAA. I think we could tee up some Twins bats here. They ranked out pretty well. They were, what, 4th I said earlier? Yeah, 4th by projections, 3rd by value, 9th by home run upside. Donovan Solano at the top, 2,800, 2,600. Cheap option, 3 positions on the FanDuel slate. Gives him a ton of value. I do think he's a good player. Not a great power hitter, but a good option for correlated scoring, and he's hitting the right part of the lineup today. Leading off is the right spot for him. He gets on at a 365 clip, 281, 365, 396. Creates runs 16% better than average. Just doesn't hit for any power. But the guys behind him do. Jorge Polanco, 14.4% barrels, 13 home runs and only 322 plate appearances, 194 ISO, 118 WRC plus. Jeffers, another cheap catcher, hitting high up in the lineup with a little bit of power. He's got 11 home runs, a 192 ISO, and 308 plate appearances, 11.2% barrels, 42.7% hard hits. Max Kepler, for his talents, 22 home runs, 254, 325, 473, just kind of a pedestrian triple slash. But a 220 ISO, 118 WRC plus, 12.1% barrels, 48.6% hard hits. Kepler's a really good hitter. 4,500, 2,900 hitting cleanup behind those guys. Like that option. Willie Castro, good mixer, triple position eligible on FanDuel. So is Kyle Farmer. I like both those guys. I prefer Farmer just because he hits for a little bit more power. But Castro's a good option. 9 home runs, 32 steals, and 380 plate appearances versus Farmer's 11 home runs and only 2 steals in 334. Castro's at a 103 WRC plus. Farmer's only at 95. I like both for cheap for 2,700 with 3 positions on FanDuel. Third base, shortstop, outfield for Castro. Second base, third base, shortstop for Farmer. You can do a lot of just variant combinations with this lineup. Edward Julian drops in the lineup. 4,200, 3,000. He's got 14 home runs and 371 plate appearances. Has created runs 34% better than average in his rookie season. Another tremendous rookie this year. Michael A., 12.6% barrels, 20 home runs, 13 stolen bases. Nobody ever rosters him. Good option late in the lineup. That's in 359 plate appearances. He's got 20 homers and 13 steals too. It's not like he was out there every single day. Sneaky good player late in the lineup. Matt Wallner, 3,600, 2,800. 12 home runs in only 226 plate appearances. A 7.5 in the home run model today. 16.7% barrels, 47.5% hard hits. Going up against kind of nothing pitching as a lefty power bat. Pretty good option. Top to bottom for the Twins. I like that lineup. I like the way they click together with all the multi-position on FanDuel. 3 triple position guys and a dual position guy. It's a lot less so on DK. There's still very, very good value pricing on DK, but just the flexibility that they provide in addition to the value on FanDuel just makes them immensely valuable. 8 Game says, I finished tied for first in 5 different GPPs for DK Showdown yesterday and tied for first on FanDuel on 2. That's awesome, buddy. It's a shame I can win 7 GPPs and only clear about $5,000. Hey, that's awesome, man. Congrats. Thanks for the advice for the show. You're welcome, pal. Glad you cashed in on it. You made those lineups yourself, though. Don't thank me. That was all you. Good job. Travis, thanks for all the content. Probably going to rewind. Yeah, we've been meandering through this one a little bit, but it hasn't been as frantic a day today. Not gonna throw more than one lineup in tonight, I don't think. But I wanted to do a good baseball show to, just before we get into football for the weekend and everything. We feel like we shortchanged baseball yesterday with talking through it in like an hour. Not that anybody was playing it or cared, but so I like the Twins as a good option for value. Tons of upside, ceiling beyond where they project, and they project pretty well. Angels on the other side, not so much. There is a little power there for sure around Brandon Drury, Logan O'Hoppe, a little bit for CJ Cron at 8.37 in the home run model. They're going up against Pablo Lopez, though. 183 and 2/3 in 30 starts, 29.2% strikeout rate for Lopez, 3.58 ERA, a 3.33 xFIP, 6.1% walks, only allowing a 34.9% hard hit rate, 87 miles an hour of exit velo, a 6.2% barrel rate. Honestly, the 3.03% home runs feels a little high for limiting all that contact. Feels like he's gotten a little unlucky on a couple home runs. He's been spectacular this season. Major step forward for him. Really, really good. 14.6% swinging strike rate. That's a phenomenal swinging strike rate. 30.1% CSW. Pojijit says, I care. Fred Dude says, appreciate it. I'm not looking. I wasn't saying it for that. Sometimes words just come out of my mouth as I'm talking, and I wasn't looking for thanks or appreciation for doing the shows, guys. Come on, this is fun for me. I'm glad you guys show up, and yes, you're welcome. I appreciate you guys right back. But wasn't fishing for compliments. Sorry if it came across that way. Everybody, tell me how much you like me, or there's no more shows. Nolan Shanuel off the top, 3,300, 2,800, 289, 423, 344. Been pretty valuable since getting called up in the end of the summer, in early August, after being drafted this year. 111 plate appearances, 123 WRC plus. Seems pretty entrenched in that leadoff spot. It's just that leadoff spot got a lot less valuable without Shohei Ohtani hitting behind him. Zach Neto, 3,100, 2,800. Top pick for them last year. Came up this year. He was the first member of last year's class. Shanuel was the first member of this year's draft class to make the show. 226, 301, 387. 12% worse than average for Neto at this point. He was good to start out. Hasn't been great since. 9.1% barrels. Minorly playable if you're going to Angels. Brendan Drury, 4,529 is cheap for all his power. 23 home runs at 226 ISO. Monster power hitter. Jared Walsh back in the lineup. Lefty power bat. 2,700, very, very cheap. 2,400, very cheap. 3 home runs in 99 plate appearances. A 138, 242 front end of his triple slash isn't what you're paying for. You're paying for the guy that hit 29 home runs in 585 plate appearances with a 232 ISO and a 127 WRC plus in his last full season 2 years ago. That's what you're paying for. O'Hoppe, pretty good catcher value, 15% barrels, 46.9% hard hits, 11 homers, and a 245 ISO. 12 homers for CJ Cron in a kind of lost season between Colorado and here. 4,100, 2,900. A good power bat from the right side. Just hasn't been there enough this season. 278 plate appearances. Last year, he had 29 homers and 632. Year before, 28 and 547. Lurking there for power for sure, but just not a reason to go to the Angels. Eduardo Escobar, 2,400, 2,300. Cheap, but hasn't really been good at all this season. Kind of the end of the line, I think, for Escobar. Joe Adell hasn't really caught on at the major league level yet. Monster power hitter in the minors. 2,600 both sites. Joe Adell this season. He's been trying to find his footing for the last couple years in the show. He's still only 24, so he's not out of time. In AAA this season, 24 home runs in 330 plate appearances, a 313 ISO. Strikes out 26.4, but walks 12.1. 375 on base. Last year, 180 AAA plate appearances, had 13 home runs, a 348 ISO. Year before, 339 AAA plate appearances, had 23 home runs, a 302 ISO. So his ISO in AAA has been over 300 each of the last 3 years. This is a significant power hitter. Let's give Joe Adell 500 plate appearances in the show and find out what he can do. Last year in 285 in the show, he struck out 37.5% of the time, hit just 8 home runs, only walked 3.9% of the time, 224, 264, 373, 77 WRC plus. Wasn't good at all. Like I said, has not found his footing in the show. Might be Crash Davis. Still only 24, feel like he deserves a shot. 300 plus ISO shouldn't be ignored 3 years running. Brett Phillips, 2,300, 2,200. Another guy who never really landed in the show. He's significantly older. I think is he in his 30s yet? 29? 29. At one point, he was supposed to be good. Peaked in 292 plate appearances with Tampa Bay in 2021. Had 13 home runs, 14 steals. Was kind of frisky for DFS that year, but struck out 38.7% of the time. Had a 221 ISO, 102 WRC plus. But was not very good. Not a great option, bottom of the lineup. Don't think we're going to that many Angels. A couple playable parts. Like if you do go there, I would say like 1, 2, 3. Either O'Hop or Crone and then Adell. It's like those 4 and then one of these 2. Or you could easily just go leave Adell out and go with those guys. That's also an option. But I don't like the spot. I do like the spot for Pablo. He's the 3rd highest projected pitcher on the board, or 2nd, whatever it was. 2nd? 3rd? 3rd. 3rd behind Frommer. Could arguably be the 2nd if the model got Charlie Morton wrong today. Very good option on the mound. Pablo Lopez, Twins bats, neck and neck up at the top. No love for anything Angels pitching, and not really that much love for the Angels bats. Kevin O says MLB season ending for a few clubs. This site keeps on rolling. Damn right. Not sure what we're going to do in the come playoff time. I don't know how much I'll cover those. I'm sure I'll give thoughts. Maybe I'll do the rankings and everything, but I really do want to try and make a good commitment to a couple of football shows a week. And if I'm doing baseball shows during the afternoons, it might chew up some of that. But we'll see what the slates look like at worst. If there's interesting things to talk about, we'll be talking about them. You can be sure of that. I just saw the note again. I'm psyched about 8 games. 8 games takedowns in the showdown last night. That's awesome. I came close. I had a few chasers. I had one chaser that was right there. There was like 100 lineups tied at the top at one point on FanDuel. I forget it was. Bell was in it. Graham Gano was in it. Remember, Graham Gano was like my highest projected Giant that didn't play quarterback or running back. But I was the only one in the tournament that had Graham Gano in the captain spot with that same configuration. I needed 2 more field goals, basically. The Giants weren't completely inept. Would have been interesting. But that was a chaser, and then I had a handful of other versions of similar configurations. I had a decent amount of Bell, so that one worked out with the touchdown. We talked about him. But yeah, didn't quite get there, but it was an okay night. Didn't lose my face. Frommer Valdez, premium option up at the top of the board. 24.1% strikeout rate on the season, only allowing a 2.37% home run rate on 4.1 degrees of launch. 3.20 ERA with a 3.37 xFIP. Has had a few blips here and there. Has had a couple games where he's given up power. 2.37 is up a little bit. The average launch angle is up a lot. Negative 3.6 last year, up to 4.1. That's significant. Negative 5.5 the year before. Significant climb. That's a corresponding climb in the home run rate. The good news is this is still a fantastically low home run rate. Primarily inducing hits on the ground. A very good strikeout pitcher when he's not inducing hits on the ground, 11.4% swinging. Up from 23.5 last year on with his 24-1, 21.9 the year before. A very good pitcher, typically works deep into games. Plenty of upside against the Kansas City Royals today. Royals pitcher on the other side, Cole Ragan, 7,800. Very cheap on DK, 9,000 on FanDuel. Feels like they're tempting people to go to him. Wouldn't necessarily call it a trap because he's been so good. Last time out, though, a little clunky. 6 innings against Houston, 5 earned runs, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. Time before that, 5 2/3, 6 strikeouts, 2 earned runs allowed at Toronto. Good start against the White Sox, 7 strikeouts, clean 6 innings, 9 strikeouts, clean 7 innings against Pittsburgh, 11 strikeouts, clean 6 innings against Oakland. 9 strikeouts, gave up 3 earned in 6 innings against the Cubbies at Chicago. This is going back to August 18th at this point. 5 strikeouts, gave up 3 earned runs in 5 innings against St. Louis. Big 11 strikeout game in 6 2/3 at Boston. So out of the good starts, going back to August 7th, that start at Boston was actually probably his best one. Struck out 11 Red Sox, gave up 1 earned run, 6 2/3, faced 25 hitters. That was his 3rd start since joining Kansas City. He was good against the Mets in the start before that. Struck out 8, gave up no runs in 6 innings. But I think the highlight kind of needs to be that 3 of his dominant starts in the middle there came against Oakland, Pittsburgh, and the White Sox. I'm not saying he's a trap. I'm not saying he's not good. I do think he's good. I just don't know that he's excellent. I just don't know that I want to tangle with the Astros, especially considering they're the team that got him last time. Or actually, no, I should not say it that way. Not especially because of that, but also of note, they are the team that got him the last time. That said, 10 starts, he's got a 29.4% strikeout rate, a 3.33 ERA, a 3.51 xFIP. Swinging strike rates at 14.3%. If I like that 14 plus for Pablo, I got to like it for Cole Ragans. 29% CSW. He walks a few too many at 9.7%. Not giving up much in terms of power at all, though. 4.9% barrels, 36.1% hard hits, 1.76% home runs. The real issue is, say it with me, the Astros are spectacular against lefties. We've talked about that a lot this season. Against left-handed pitching, the Houston Astros this year, God damn it, what is with this board? If you're going to put up a new board, Graphs, why don't we make it so that it works? I don't know why this stopped working. I was really liking that new team stats board for a while there. But once it stopped working, it became a lot less valuable. On the old version, the Astros, the point is going to be that they have a 17-something percent strikeout rate against lefties this year. For fuck's... This isn't working now either. Here we go. I don't know what the hell that was. Anyway, at long last, second in baseball with a 17.6% strikeout rate. 127 WRC plus collectively against lefties with a 203 ISO. As a team, they have a 346 on base percentage against lefties with that to go with that 200 plus ISO. They have a 277 average. 64 of their home runs have come against lefties. Their 2 premium bats do not suffer at all against lefties. Jordan Alvarez, Kyle Tucker. Arguably, they get better against same-handed pitching. 28 home runs this year for Alvarez. 285 ISO, a 170 WRC plus. One of the very best hitters in all of baseball. A 14 in the home run model today. Leads the team. Altuve just below the magic number for home runs. Hits from the right side. Alex Bregman hits from the right side. He's just below the magic number for home runs. Altuve's got 17 with 13 steals in 368 plate appearances. Creates runs 61% better than average. These two give them a pairing like Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts when they're healthy, just in terms of the run creation marks that 2 players in their lineup put up. They've also got these spectacular options for run creation in their lineup. This is a very, very good team. Bregman's got 24 homers, a 179 ISO, 128 WRC plus. Jose Abreu hitting cleanup today. Why not? Throw him out there. Righty against the lefty, 16 home runs, a 134 ISO, 81 WRC plus. Just for the fun of it. What's Jose doing against lefties this year? 7 of Jose's 16 home runs, so roughly half of his home runs have come in the split against lefties in fewer plate appearances. He is slashing... He's creating runs 2% worse than average, but 2% worse than average is a lot better than his overall 19% worse than average. 98 WRC plus. He's got a 197 ISO in the split. That's way up from the overall. Strikes out just 19.5% of the time. Yeah, Abreu looks decent here. 236, 299, 433 triple slash against lefties this year. Not great there, but he only cost 3,900, 2,900. We know there's realistic right-handed power there. Hits ahead of Kyle Tucker and Chas McCormick. 57.36 is a discount for Kyle Tucker. 28 home runs, 28 stolen bases, a 138 WRC plus, a 227 ISO. Chas McCormick in 425 plate appearances, 20 homers, 19 steals, a 214 ISO, creating runs 37% better than average. Pena and Dubon mix and match. Okay in terms of the average. Don't get on base quite enough. Don't create runs quite frequently enough. Okay for counting stats. Mix and match guys in the infield and the outfield. Martin Maldonado, just a low-end mixer of a catcher, does have 14 home runs in 385 plate appearances. Always at the bottom of the lineup, always low owned, so you can throw darts at him, but that's about it. Podigen says the overbetters are hopeful. This is 540. It's not that long yet. Only 3 games to go. Might crack 6 o'clock. We'll see. So, Framber Valdez, way up top. I didn't talk about the Royals lineup all that much. I don't really want to roster the Royals that much because Framber takes away home runs and the Royals don't really give anything else back. Pretty mediocre in terms of the on-base percentages. Only really MJ drawing a 10+% walk rate. They're not atrociously bad for strikeouts in this configuration, but there's enough there to support Framber for upside. Only Bobby Witt is really overly interesting. 29 home runs, 48 stolen bases, a monster season out of him. He's been spectacular. Always worth paying for as a one-off at shortstop. But again, Framber just cuts the home run upside in half at worst, or at best. Michael Garcia, 22 steals, only a 325 on base in the leadoff role. Okay, but 14% worse than average when your job is to be a correlated scorer. MJ, 15 home runs, a 162 ISO, not great. Olivares, 2,926. He's cheap. 10 home runs, 10 steals, and 358. A 103 WRC plus. Nelson Velasquez, probably the second most interesting hitter, given his extreme contact profile. His 15 home runs and 150 plate appearances. Righty against the lefty. But again, it's Framber. He takes away home run upside so significantly that I don't really want to go home run hunting with Nelson Velasquez when he's not going to give us much else. Nick Lofton, Matt Duffy, Tyler Cropley, Drew Waters. Mixed at best. Oh, we do have the lineups here. My bad. Astros lineup looks similar, except Pena's hitting second, Bregman's hitting cleanup, and Abreu's hitting sixth. All the players are the same. Pena hitting second does get a little bit of an uptick, and then Abreu gets a minor downgrade, dropping from fourth to sixth. Bregman stays about the same, moving from second to fourth. On the Royal side, it's Garcia, Witt. Velasquez is in the lineup. He's hitting third. That's an uptick for him. But again, I still just don't want to go home run hunting against Framber Valdez of all pitchers. He's probably the number one pitcher that I don't want to try and have guys just for home run potential against, like in all of baseball. MJ hitting fourth, Olivares fifth, Lofton, Logan Porter catching and hitting seventh, Nick Prado, Kyle Isbell at the bottom. No upgrades there. In fact, kind of downgrades considering Prado and Isbell are both left-handed. So, Framber Valdez, Astros bats, 1-1A. Cole Ragans, I think Ragans is playable for 78, 9,000. I question what the true talent level is. I think he's good, but I don't know if he's great. And I hate the matchup. Just a really, really bad matchup. Not just because they got him last time. Just for any lefty. This is a terrible matchup against the Astros. So, I wouldn't be going to too much Ragans, but for 78 on DK, I'd be tempted to have a pretty healthy share. 9,000 on FanDuel, it's just easy enough to avoid. It would kind of surprise me if he goes out and wins the slate for somebody today, even at 78. But I do think he's, that puts him in the conversation. Lineups here. Got the A's lineup anyway. Ryan Noda in the leadoff spot. Zach Geloff hitting second. Seth Brown back in the lineup. Brent Rooker. So you got most of the power intact at the top of the Athletics lineup. That's a good thing for them. So Sawyer Gibson Long, 7,700 on DK, 83 on FanDuel. Good value pricing on both sites. Obviously, we're just looking at the numbers, and he's got a 41% strikeout rate, so he's got to be the best pitcher in all of baseball, right? Wrong. 10 innings, 2 starts. But I do think there's realistic potential here. Obviously, I don't think he's going to be a 41% strikeout guy for his career or, for too much longer going forward. He struck out 11 in his last appearance. He's made 2 starts in the show. Come on. Struck out 11, walked 3, gave up 1 run on a home run to the Angels in 5 innings. Struck out 5 in the first game, 5 innings, faced 19 hitters, gave up 2 earned runs. That was against the White Sox. It's probably, the truth is, somewhere in the middle, maybe, between those 2 starts. Probably going to give up a run or 2. Does have strikeout potential. Let's call it like 8-ish strikeouts, I think is probably a realistic expectation against this Athletics team if he has a good game. But he was doing well in the minors. He was not somebody that was on my prospect radar. Looking at FanGraphs, they had him 29th organizationally coming into this season. 25-year-old righty. And then this season, in AA, 65 innings, 13 starts, he had a 29.8% strikeout rate. Was pitching to a 3.74 ERA with a 3.10 xFIP. Then he made 6 starts in AAA, 34 and 2/3 innings. 5.45 ERA, not great, but a 3.74 xFIP is very good. And he had a 32.7% strikeout rate. So strikeouts bumped when he faced higher end competition. Small sample. None of it's all that meaningful. But he has demonstrated an ability to get hitters out at the major league level via the strikeout. 21.3% swinging strikes. Obviously, again, probably not going to maintain that for too much longer, but that's ridiculously good. 38.1% CSW, 5% barrels so far, 2.56% home runs. Giving up a little bit of pop so far, but I think you go here. 7,700 going up against one of the worst lineups in all of baseball. There's upside for sure. You got to avoid the power bats. They do have the 4 guys at the top with double-digit barrel rates, 40+% hard hit rates. Same for Lawrence Butler in his small sample of 100 plate appearances. All these guys have realistic plate appearance samples at this point, though. 260 is the low man for Zach Geloff. He's got 13 homers, 13 steals. The best triple slash in the group. 255 ISO. Ryan Noda gets on base the best out of those guys. 371 on base because he walks the most. 16% walk rate. Also strikes out the most in that group. Has the best barrel rate. Well, no, Brent Rooker does. 13.2% barrels, 46.6% hard hits, 15 homers. He's been very good this year. 27% better than average creating runs, one of their better players. Seth Brown, 13 home runs, realistic lefty power. 12% barrels, 45.9% hard hits. 92 WRC plus, though. Half a season. Last year, he hit 25, stole 11. 25, stole 11 last year. 116 WRC plus was their best player last year. Rooker had the extreme output early this season. Up to 28 homers, though. 241 ISO. 15.6% barrels with a 49.6% hard hits. Now that he's at 3,200, 2,900, as we've been saying over the last couple of weeks, easy to get to. Tony Kemp, 26-27, no thank you. Lawrence Butler, 23-21, much better buy. 4 homers, 100 plate appearances. 69 WRC plus, not great. 146 ISO, not great, but has been putting bat on ball fairly well. Kevin Smith, Nick Allen, no thanks at the bottom of the lineup. Tyler Soderstrom, if you're going to this team, moderately interesting considering it costs 21 where you need catchers. 3 home runs in his 122 plate appearances. Just ignore everything else. Premium rookie catcher, just getting his feet wet in the show. But for the very cheap price, if you are targeting Gibson Long with Athletics, I would probably consider Tyler Soderstrom at least ahead of Kevin Smith and Nick Allen from the bottom of the lineup. Probably ahead of Tony Kemp as well. So it's like these 4 guys in Soderstrom, and Lawrence Butler and Soderstrom. Tiger side going up against Kenny Waldachuk. He's also drawing an okay projection for the value, 7,100, 7,400 across sites. 20.6% strikeouts, 11.5% walks, 5.40 ERA, 5.10 xFIP. I don't really trust him as far as I can throw him, even against this mediocre Tigers team. I like Spencer Torkelson. I think he's good. I like Kerry Carpenter. I think he's good. Everybody else is kind of pretty bad. But Waldachuk has not been trustworthy at all this year. I don't know how much ceiling is there beyond that projection. Come on. 4 innings the last time out. Gave up 6 earned runs. Home run. That was against San Diego. Had a very good game against Houston. Only struck out 3, but 6 clean innings. 6 against Toronto was pretty good before that, but only struck out 3 in that one as well. 4 innings against Seattle, only struck out 3 in that one, only gave up 1 earned run. So he had 3 pretty decent starts, but really low end for strikeouts in those games. And then has been all over the place other than that recent stretch. Immediately before that, 2 games where he gave up 3 home runs to the White Sox, 2 home runs to the Orioles. Yeah, just kind of messy. I don't think we need to go there against the Tigers. He is correctly priced for value. There are strikeouts in that lineup. 23.9% for the projected version of the lineup. 25.2% strikeout rate for Torkelson. Rogers at 32.1. Carpenter at 23.8. Definitely gives you a little bit of potential for him to find a few strikeouts. He just hasn't really done it that many times this year. When he has pitched well, it's been at the sacrifice of strikeouts. I don't really know that there's much beyond like this kind of a number with a downside. Significantly more basement than there is ceiling. Let's put it that way. You could probably grab some Tigers against him. He's giving up a 3.72% home run rate. Fly ball trajectory, nearly 40% hard hits. Not been bad for premium contact, but hasn't been great at avoiding home runs. And there's probably going to be a guys on base given the walk rate. These 3 guys are the top priorities. Maybe it's the day to play Miguel Cabrera. Where's he at now against lefties this year? He was raking against lefties at one point this season. All 3 of his home runs have come against righties, but he's got a 263, 348, 325 triple slash against lefties with a 92 WRC plus versus his 78 WRC plus against righties. So against lefties, he's only 8% worse than average versus 22% worse than average against righties. Yeah, not a great option, but if you want to play Miguel Cabrera one last time, you at least get a lefty here. Maybe he gets a base hit or something. Tyler Nevin, Zach Short, Parker Meadows, kind of mix and match options at the bottom. Matt Vierling and Andy Ibanez, same thing up at the top. It's really these 3 guys and not all that much else in this lineup. Maybe it's a 3-man. Maybe it's one that you just don't go to at all. Gibson Long. Athletics bats just because I think they're the better team. Tigers bats. No Ken Waldichuk. Man, the hits just keep on coming with these pitchers. Matt Waldron against Dakota Hudson. Pitchers duel on deck. I think we're going to bats in this one, gang. Waldron, 15.7% strikeouts in 29 and 2/3, giving up a 5.51% home run rate on 11.1% barrels. 5.16 ERA, 5.07 xFIP. On the other side, Dak Hudson, 13% strikeouts, 9.8% walks. Not terrible in terms of power, but a 5.12 ERA, a 5.19 xFIP, very limited in terms of swinging strikes. Doesn't throw any strikes at 22.7% CSW. Same thing for Waldron on the other side, 23.2%. He's so good that I couldn't remember his name in that 5 seconds when I was talking about Hudson. I had to look back over to the corner here to see Matt Waldron's name when I went back to him. Yeah, I don't think we want either one of these pitchers, even at value pricing, which Waldron is not even correctly priced at $7,300 on the DK slate. Cards bats, Lars Nootbaar off the top, 44.31. Pretty cheap. 13 home runs, 11 steals, 121 WRC plus. He's just been kind of in and out of the lineup, but overall he's a very good player. 14.3% walks, 19.7% strikeouts. Barrels the ball 9.1% of the time. That's a good price for a good player. 370 on base. If nothing else, 370 on base ahead of Goldschmidt and Arenado. Totally worth getting to. Goldie, 53.36, 25 homers, 11 steals, a 124 WRC plus. Arenado, 26 homers, a 193 ISO, 107 WRC plus for 51.33. I think you just plug those guys in when you go to cards, first base, third base, and then you pick your other guys. I would probably go Nootbaar, Goldschmidt, and Arenado as my first 3 guys in from this lineup. Richie Palacios, 2,800, 2,400 across sites. Jordan Walker, 35.28. Do we have this lineup I should probably talk about? No, we don't. Okay. Jordan Walker, 35.28 is cheap. 274, 343, 446. 17% better than average creating runs. At this point, that's kind of an underrated rookie season. 426 plate appearances, a 42.9% hard hit rate. He's been good. He just had that, broke camp and wasn't good. Sent back down, called back up. He's been good since he's been back. Tommy Edman, 42.29, 13% worse than average. Kind of a mediocre season for Tommy. Bad season, whatever you want to call it. 12 homers, 24 steals, Player that I like historically, but he's getting on at a 298 clip this year. Hasn't been good. Juniel Karakuto? Juniel Karakuto. That's what I'm going with there. Dead minimum price on both sites. Second and third on DK. Third base on FanDuel. Didn't realize he was in the lineup. And I already figured out his name. Juniel. Let's just do this. Oh, he's been around for a minute, huh? He is 31 years old. How about that? 31 years old. He has made 22 plate appearances in the show, and 11 of them were this year. The other 11 were in 2016 for the Tampa Bay Rays. In 2016 for the Rays, he had a 54.5% strikeout rate in his 11 plate appearances. .091, .091, 273 triple slash, negative 20 WRC plus. He's improved that this season. This season in 11 plate appearances, he's only got a 36.4% strikeout rate and a 0.00 triple slash with a negative 100 WRC plus. So I guess he hasn't improved it. He's improved the strikeouts. Yeah, kind of a non-option there. Ivan Herrera, their premium catcher prospect of the future. 348, 444, 391 with a 143 WRC plus in 27 plate appearances from earlier in the year. 57.1% hard hits in the tiny sample. Kid's supposed to hit. He was in 375 plate appearances in AAA this season. 10 home runs, 11 steals, 20% walks, 20.5% strikeouts, a 203 ISO, 297, 451, 500, creating runs 47% better than average in AAA. That as a player. 2,600, I like him. I wouldn't skip him. I'd be priorities. Those three, probably Walker, and then maybe Herrera, and you consider him like a wraparound almost. Mason Wynn, mix and match shortstop. Padres side of things, we know where we're going, right? Bogey, Tatis, Soto, Manny. These four guys plus, whatever else you can afford or want to get to. Bogey, 283. Look at him surge to end the season. Got a shot to get to 290. 351 on base, 122 WRC plus. Was never truly bad. Had a disappointing couple of months, little bit of a slump there, but also carried the team early in the season. 19 home runs, 18 stolen bases. This is turning out to be a pretty good season. He is underpriced at 4,800, 3,300, particularly if he leads off ahead of the power of Tatis, Soto, and Manny Machado. 25 home runs, 32 home runs, 28 home runs, 201, 237, 202 ISOs, 117, 151, 109 WRC plus. 3 stars in a row. They're all pretty low strikeout to very low strikeout. Juan Soto is the best player in that group, 12.7% barrels, 54.4% hard hits, 18.4% strikeouts, and 18.8% walks. Walks slightly more than he strikes out. 32 home runs, 11 steals, 151 WRC plus. Just a monster. Awesome hitter. One of my favorite bats in the league, if you can't tell. Trying to will him to the New York Yankees someday. Camposano, 3,200, 2,900. Giving you a lot of output so far. 312, 352, 487, 132 WRC plus, 7 homers and only 165. Filling in admirably, definitely exceeding the output of Gary Sanchez here. 3,200, 2,900. Get him while he's cheap. That's very, very cheap where you need catchers in a pretty good lineup against a pretty bad pitcher. G-Man Choi, 2,400, 2,400. Why not? The stats aren't there. He's probably got like 5 or 6 home runs. It's a naming convention issue. He's got 6 home runs in 100 plate appearances. What a guess. 170, 254, 20. A 250 ISO. Strikes out 32% of the time. He's G-Man Choi. That's what he does. That was only going to be within a certain range. I was comfortable with that guess. Matthew Batten, Trent Grisham, and Eggy at the bottom of the lineup. Not all that much to speak of. Trent Grisham makes good contact, but doesn't do a lot with it. At the Mendoza line, 13 homers, 14 steals, 91 WRC plus. Eggy in 26 plate appearances, 2 home runs, 85 WRC plus, 105 plate appearances for Batten. He's at a 111 WRC plus, hitting for a decent average and getting on base okay. So he's probably the best option out of that group. But really, if you're going to Padres, you're just going like here. That's really all you need. Where'd they rank? Pods ranked higher. Padres bats, Cardinals bats. Neither pitcher. Rounding things off with the Giants, Sean Manaea, 104 and 2/3, 26.1% strikeout rate is kind of compelling. What did he do in that last time when he came out and actually made a full start the last time? Let's find out. 5 1/3, 3 earned, 3 strikeouts. Full start before that, 5 2/3, 1 earned, 5 strikeouts. Ceiling beyond that, he's 8 strikeouts in a 3 2/3 appearance in bulk relief back in May against the Twins. Another 8 strikeout performance in 6 innings against the Royals as a traditional start in the beginning of the season. 6 strikeouts in 4 innings against the Angels in bulk relief back in the middle of August. A couple 5 strikeout marks in there. A couple 6 strikeout marks in June as well. It's not a great option, but he is a good strikeout pitcher. If I can confidently get 6 out of him for 5,800, even against the Dodgers, there's probably a little bit of juice to be squeezed out of that. Not a lot. I don't think I would make that play on FanDuel for 68, where I only get 1 bite at the pitcher apple. But it's a very cheap SP2. If you can just limit the number of runs that the Dodgers score, not even pitch clean, but give me 6 innings of limited run scoring against you with a little bit of strikeout potential. Not that the Dodgers are easy to get strikeout-wise, but Manaea's a good enough pitcher. 4.82 ERA, 404 xFIP is a lot better, 10.6% swinging, 2.88% home runs, doesn't typically get torched for power. I don't like the option, but I think at 58, there's at least a case to be made for it. Caleb Ferguson is opening this game, and then it's Ryan Yarbrough on the other side. Ignore Ferguson, he's going like an inning. I meant to put Yarbs in here, but I forgot. Yarbs is 7,300 on both sites. 17.8% strikeout rate with a 3.6% walk rate. 3.73 ERA and a 4.63 xFIP in 82 innings over 8 starts. That is his actual projection, right? Yeah. I think I gave him 4 innings here. Doesn't project well over 4 innings. Doesn't project that poorly considering that it's 4 innings and he's only 7,300. But I just don't think we need to mess with the bulk relief type options here. In his last few appearances, I didn't mean to click that. Last few appearances, 4 2/3, 4 innings. Did strike out 7 but that was at Seattle. 7 strikeouts in 4 2/3 of bulk relief the last time out, and earned run. That's probably your ceiling. I mean, it's almost definitely your ceiling. It's not bad. The Giants do strike out at a fair clip, 22.9% for this projected version of the lineup. My mouse died. Very cool. There it is. Came back. Yeah, I think maybe Yarbs is on the board. 7,300 for a handful of innings with that strikeout upside against a free swinging Giants club is not completely out of the question. I don't love the price. I'd rather have it be 5,800 in this spot going up against the Giants. Then I'd be talking about this being a good spot. This is the right price, but the wrong matchup. This is the wrong price, but the right matchup, if that makes sense. 73 on the FanDuel slate. No shot at a quality start or anything like that. I don't think I roll those dice. It's really a DK play only, and probably too low end, given the 7,300, but feasible. Austin Slater in the leadoff role for the Giants. Typically, when they face left-handed pitching, I think they would gear up for this one. Is Ferguson left-handed also? I forget. Yeah, he is. So they'll definitely be geared up for lefties. I also don't really think this makes a ton of sense when they go with the same-handed pitching with the opener. I always like it when you mix open with a lefty, go to a righty, or vice versa. That's not entirely the theory. The theory is just have a high octane arm, take the top off the lineup once through the lineup. But if you can also do that while gaming the other team's lineup with lefty righty, it's worth doing. So Slater at the top, 28-22. Effective against lefties, 263, 335, 389, primarily on this side of splits in 194 plate appearances. An okay option, but not somebody to go out of your way for. Tydro, 4,300, 3,300, a good player, 12 home runs, 22 steals, 103 WRC+. Hits ahead of Wilmer, Mitch Haniger, J.D. Davis. None of the lefty power bats are in this projected version of the lineup. You might get one or two of them, the Michael Confortos, Jock Petersons of the world. It's not like Caleb Ferguson and Yarbs are super premium lefties like Blake Snell or somebody that they'd have to avoid. So you might see one of those power bats. They're moderately playable. Mitch for 3,700, 2,600 did hit a ton of home runs 2 years ago, as we've looked at a bunch of times. Has been pretty bad this year, 218 plate appearances, only 6 homers, a 77 WRC+. Wilmer's been their best player, 22 homers and 431 plate appearances, 138 WRC+, pretty killer. Somehow only 50 runs and 57 RBIs. I feel like those numbers should be higher. Not a lot of support from his teammates. J.D. Davis, 35, 28, 18 home runs. An okay season. Fell short of the breakout that I was hoping for, that I was calling for early in the season. But still a fairly effective year. The hard hits, the barrels are way down from last year. This was the key. Needed to maintain the excellent barrel rates and hard hits. Was doing it early in the season. He's cooled off to more human levels. Pat Bailey also has cooled 244, 298, 378 down to an 87 WRC plus after a hot start at catcher. Luis Matos, Marco Luciano, Tyler Fitzgerald, mix and match options late in the lineup. Dodgers, top to bottom, left, right, and center in most games, most configurations. Today, at least 1 through 7 if it's this projected version. Enrique Hernandez is just more of a mixer of a utility guy at this point in his career. 484 plate appearances, 9 home runs, 4 steals, a 70 WRC plus. Miguel Rojas at 71 WRC plus, 5 homers, 8 steals, kind of the same thing. You can mix and match to your heart's content with those guys. They're very cheap at the bottom of the lineup. Multi-position on FanDuel, multi-position for Enrique on the DK slate. Everybody else in the lineup is a better choice. Mookie at the top, MVP contender, 39 homers, 13 steals, a 169 WRC plus. Freddie Krates runs 62% better than average. 231 ISO for him, 283 ISO for Mookie, 26 homers and 21 stolen bases for Freddie Freeman. What an awesome season. He's so good. 333, 410, 564. Krates runs 62% better than average, 26 homers and 21 steals from a first baseman. Dynamite. JD Martinez, Will Smith, Max Muncy, premium options positionally. 54, 55. That's the wrong price for Smith. He's not a pitcher. 5,400 anyway, where you need catchers. An excellent option. 18 home runs on the season. Another catcher who plays almost every day. 262, 361, 441. 20% better than average creating runs. Martinez, 35% better than average creating runs. Muncy, 21%. 30 home runs for Martinez, 36 for Muncy. 2 premium options in the middle of the lineup. Ahmed Rosario, an interesting mixer for 3,500, 2,700. A guy with talent. Only 6 home runs and 14 steals this year. 12% worse than average. Has not gotten it done this year, but there is talent there. I know for sure. Last year, 11 homers, 18 steals, 3% better than average creating runs. The year before, 11 homers, 13 steals, 99 WRC plus. Really hasn't gotten there just yet, but I know there's talent there. Chris Taylor, 3,400, 2,800. Primo bat against lefties. 15 homers, 16 steals, up to a 108 WRC plus. 2 positions for 34 on DK, 3 positions for 28 on FanDuel. Extreme value. Chris Taylor's a good player. To have that cheap with 3 positions, that's dynamite going up against the lefty. I like the Dodgers 1 through 7 and basically in any combination that you can make. Dodgers bats. Dodgers bats really is like the only thing that I actually would play. You can throw Sean Manaea value darts on DK at 58. You can throw worse Ryan Yarbrough darts for his price, 773 on DK. I don't know that I would do it. I just don't like the spot from Manaea going against the Dodgers even with the price. He's got 6-7 strikeout upside if he goes 6. Needs to pitch a really good game though. Caleb Ferguson, Ryan Yarbrough coming in for the Dodgers in bulk relief. No on FanDuel for sure, and the DK price probably just a little bit high, but does have a little bit of potential. So it's, like I was saying, Dodgers, Giants, probably Manaea just because he's cheaper, I guess, if you're doing that, and then Yarbs. But it's not, I just don't like those bulk relief options that much. LA just dropped Muncy out of the lineup. All right, so we're not playing Muncy, obviously. Still not up on Labs. Did we get it? Oh, there we go. So Mookie, Freddie, Smith, JD, Rosario, Chris Taylor, Enrique Hernandez, Outman into the lineup, hitting 8th. That's what they think of the Sean Manaea. They don't really care about the lefty. Outman's been good, double-digit homers and double-digit steals this season in a productive year. Lefty bat, what does he do against lefties? He's one of that trio of Outman, Hayward, and Peralta that I like getting to for cheap prices as lefty outfielders. He's got 21 homers and 15 steals overall. Against lefties, only one of the 21 homers. A 256, 358, 312 triple slash, though. That's not bad. 94 WRC plus, down from 124 against righties. All his power comes against righties. But he can get on base. He's getting on at a 358 clip with a 256 average against lefties. So not dead with James Outman down there. Just don't hope for the power that you would normally think of. That's about it, gang. Top to bottom, up and down. Charlie Morton, I don't really have full faith in it. But like I said, it's probably going to be Charlie or one of the cheaper Dunning or Gibson Long if I end up building a lineup for FanDuel in the next 50 minutes or so. Framber Valdez, Pablo Lopez, two very high priced but very talented guys in good spots. Total faith in these two projections. If you said, Terry, you have to pick 2 out of the 3 guys from the top of your board, gun to my head, dangling over a pit of vipers, family about to fall into a volcano if I don't get it right, it's these 2 guys every time. They're just the more talented guys at this point. I do think Charlie's a very talented guy. He's had a great career, but we're more on the back end with Charlie. He's got that walk issue this year. They're a low strikeout matchup for him anyway. These are just better matchups. Wouldn't surprise me at all if Charlie does this. Wouldn't surprise me at all if the Nats carve out 3 or 4 runs against him and have a frustrating day for the price, though. Raggins. I have a problem with this spot, too. I think the projection's right. I don't think it's misprojected. I assume he's going to get a little bit of attention because people like him. And that Houston lineup is just outrageously good against lefties. And like we looked at, 3 of those good starts, 3 out of like the 5 good starts were against, Oakland, the White Sox, bad teams. So not sure exactly where the talent level is yet. Dean Kramer, we talked ourselves out of a little bit, given the low strikeout matchup and all the lefties that he's going to have to face, the fact that he struggles a bit against lefties. So probably capped around this kind of a territory, ceiling-wise. Probably not much ceiling for him beyond that. He's had a good-ish year. Dane Dunning, I think there's upside beyond this for sure, given the strikeouts in the Seattle lineup, given the fact that he spiked a few big strikeout games this year. There's also a pretty clear floor. There's also the odds that Dunning goes out and is the more typical version of Dunning, where he has a 4 or 5 strikeout game, gets through 6 okay innings, gives up a run or 2, no home runs, and is good, not great. Chris Sale, 6 innings. There's a big ceiling on that, given his strikeout ability. If he goes out and strikes out 10 in 6 innings, we've obviously got a pretty decent score. That said, you're not getting a real discount for the fact that he's almost definitely not going to come out for anything beyond 6 innings. Gibson Long, great matchup against Oakland, has demonstrated an ability to strike out major league hitters, if nothing else. For 8,300, 7,700, I might be leaning in this direction. Just take the discount. Waldichuk, don't really buy it, but 74, 71, I think he's, a few darts probably would be worth it. I'd probably have a few in my quiver if I was building a full 150. Bryce Miller, hate the spot. Like the pitcher, hate the spot. 82, 81, don't love the pricing. Minorly playable against the Rangers. He would have to be at his best tonight to deliver against that Rangers team. Taiwan, as we talked about, out of the mediocre pitchers, he's one of the guys I do think is more believable at 81, 82. It's not like projects well, just an average type pitcher, bad matchup. Or a medium matchup, let's put it that way. Bieber not going to give us the innings. Daniel working as a bulk relief, not going to give us anything. Manaea facing the Dodgers, price is good as a mixer. Not much other than that. Brendan Fate has potential to pitch well against the Yankees. The Yankees have put up a lot of clunkers this season and delivered good scores to bad pitchers. He's a talented kid, just hasn't really found it at this level. 76, 68, you're not paying a premium to find out with him, though. A few shares wouldn't be totally out of the question. Waldron out of the question. McGill, Yarbs. Maybe you mix in some Yarbs for 73, but I don't think I would do it. Corbs, Toussaint, Weaver, Ferg. No thanks. That's about it. One last look at the home run board. Why not? A lot of Braves. A lot of obvious names. Kyle Schwarber, Matt Olson. Rafi Devers was the home run pick of the day. 4,100. Price is right on FanDuel. Too cheap on DK at 52. Ronnie Acuna, Mookie Betts, a lot of obvious. Just all the Braves, and then all the best power hitters in the game. Not a crazy day in the home run model. I'm looking for anybody odd. Justin Turner over the magic number? That's an interesting little pick from the team where I extracted my home run pick with a more obvious guy. Yeah, getting Turner and Trevor Story right around the magic number, both from the Red Sox right here. Not bad. A couple of Dodgers, some Braves, some Astros, one Met. Where's Francisco? He can't be too far down. There he is. All right, gang. That's about it. I've wandered around through this slate enough. I'm sure everybody wants to punch out and get their lineups built. We're dwindling in terms of attendance. It's 2 hours and 15 minutes into the show. About 45, 50 minutes till the slate. Keep an eye out on the site. Everything's going to get updated. Going to push another update for the projections, the rankings later on tonight. If we get any news, or even in the absence of news, I'm going to put up the groups and stacks article. Going to between today and tomorrow morning, we'll have the over the above below article done. We'll definitely have a football show in the next little bit. I know, literally say that every day at this point, but we're out of time again. It's Saturday again already. Unbelievable how quickly these weeks go by. But hopefully we'll get more efficient on that and do more football content during the week at some point. But we'll be here. Keep an eye out. Hit the subscribe so you know when the shows go live. Hit the like. Thank you again, gang. Thank you, Kevin O. Appreciate it. Tizzlemane, who do you like more tonight? Pham from Arizona or Sedan Rafaela from Boston? Boy, that's a tough one. Pham hitting third. Very good season. Established major leaguer. I'd probably lean Tommy Pham just because I've got a very long track record of knowing that Tommy Pham is a very good player, and I like this spot quite a bit against Luke Weaver in Yankee Stadium, hitting third behind these guys, ahead of these guys. I probably lean Pham, but Sedan Rafaela looks like he's for real. I mean, that is a primo. I guess right. That's a high-end prospect that has delivered over 61 plate appearances. I probably prefer Pham, but that's close. Rafael's got a slightly better spot in the lineup, hitting first rather than third. Not that we, lose plate appearances same inning, but slightly better. Yeah, I think I'd slightly lean Pham, but very, very close. Good comp. All right, that's a good spot to end on. Good luck out there tonight, gang. Somebody go win something. I will see you tomorrow.